skies and neon nights, controllers lit like fireflies. Old freaky gamer in the zone, level up the unknown. Game talk news, it's all a thrill, conquering worlds with skill on skill. Game on, game hard, streaming stars were never far. Game on, game hard, in this conquest we're avatars. Mr. Mike calls the plays.
Hello everybody, this is Mr. Mike, and you are listening to the GamezAttack podcast, episode 94. Sony only betting on PlayStation hardware, folks. That's right, Sony going back to old PlayStation, only PlayStation. Oh yeah, how's it going everybody, as I really kill that. I wish it didn't get killed off right away. I do have it where it's supposed to go down, but oh well. So everybody, welcome to this podcast, the GamezAttack podcast. I already said it was episode 94, almost at 100 episodes of this newly OldFreakyGamer created podcast. Now, I did do way more GamezAttack podcasts and such back in the Juju2Cast days. And I think and then before that, it used to be called the GamezTech podcast. And before that was a Gamer Tech podcast. I think it was like the Gamer Tech podcast. And then it was the Games Tech podcast. And then I'm like, oh, I'm just going to call it the GamezAttack podcast. And then, you know, I rebooted everything. I stopped doing the Juju2Cast stuff, which was more podcasts and all that of, you know, various types of things. I used to talk about politics with others and a whole bunch of other stuff. And then I'm like, why don't you just stick to games? Stick to what I know, what I like to talk about and stuff. And that's where I'm going to stand today forever till I die, till my grave. I'm taking it all to my grave, folks. And yeah, 94 episodes already. Because I used to do them every 2 weeks. Now I do it every week, unless if there's something really interesting or something going on or something, then maybe I won't do it, you know, certain Mondays. But mainly each and every Monday, I've been putting these podcasts out, and it's a lot better when I started doing these weekly, because that means, because even weekly, there's so much gaming news out there. Like, I had a whole list this morning and I had to go through. I had to read all these stories. I'm like, which ones I'm going to talk about in today's podcast? Which ones am I not going to talk about? Because I'm like, shit, Mr. Mike, you know, your podcasts go way too long, too much news out there. And there's a lot of news that maybe people don't care about, or I'm not so passionate about. But throughout the week when I'm reading stuff, gamer news and all that stuff, or anything that's gaming related or something that could be gaming related, and I think it's an interesting enough news story that I might want to talk about it on the show in the Games Newz Now section, I would put it in my little digital browser folder, and I'd be like, okay, this is a potential story that I could talk about. This is a potential story. And then sure enough, at the end of the week, it's like full. It's fully stacked. It just scrolls and scrolls and scrolls. And I'm like, okay, I'm not talking about all this shit, because then this podcast would be like 6 to 8 hours long. And last week it was 3 hours long. Today, I know I always say this, today, though, I'm going to try to make it really short. Not that you wouldn't want to listen to me for longer, and not that I wouldn't want to talk about more stuff. I just, there's going to be stuff that I got to do this weekend. And 3-hour podcast per week, that's a lot of podcasts. That's a lot of audio or video for you to watch. And, you probably would rather watch me play video games and stuff like that. And, I would like to play some video. Plus, I'm going to work out today after the podcast, so I want to get a good workout out in before I get into my grubbing in. So I'm going to work out before I eat a bunch of basically semi-bad stuff, because I am going to the Texas Roadhouse today. I am ordering myself some food like ribs and stuff like that from the Texas Roadhouse. I haven't been, now note folks, No, even though I work in the restaurant business, because I said this and admitted this before, I didn't tell you where I work, but I work in the restaurant business. I don't usually eat at the restaurant that I work at. Sometimes, like in the morning, because I work early mornings. I work at very early in the morning, so I'll get myself we have bagels there. I'll get myself a bagel and drink some water or something like that, and that's about it. Usually I don't have to buy anything from my restaurant. I get it for free, the food, but I don't usually eat from my restaurant because, eating greasy food, stuff like that all the time is not an ordeal, But what I was preparing, because I haven't been to a restaurant in how many months now? It's been a long time since I've taken out food, even subs. I haven't even been to a DeBella's subs in a long time. And usually I like a good turkey sub or something from there, or a meatball marinara sub or something. Those are my favorites over at DeBella's. I haven't even been there. So I said to myself, I haven't been to the Texas Road. It was between getting Texas Roadhouse or Five Guys. And I'm like, ooh, I do like a Five Guys, but I do want a good Texas Roadhouse. And I also had a third choice. Third choice would have been Ted's Hot Dogs, because I do love their footlongs. And don't make any jokes about the footlongs, folks, because I do like a good footlong. Doesn't matter what kind of meat it is. No jokes on that. But I do like their hot dogs, and they have good sausages there and stuff like that. But I said, well, it's going to be between Five Guys and, like I said, the Texas Roadhouse here in my area. And I'm like, I'm more leaning to some ribs, because I don't really get ribs that much. And it's been a while, and I've been promising myself, I'm like, Mr. Mike, it's the wintertime. You're not grilling outside. You should get some ribs. And I'll get the full rack of ribs. I'll get extra ribs on the side. And it's not like I eat them all at once. I'll save some for dinner the next day, because this is going to be like my dinner. So I'll eat some, and I'll save some for the next day, which is great because you can get 2 meals out of it. And my sides, I don't get French fries. I used to get like French fries and then a mashed potato. Now I just get mashed potatoes and gravy as my sides. And then, of course, I get a bunch of fucking rolls, because those fucking rolls are amazing. Not good, but amazing. And I mean, not good for me, but all the food is bad. So it's, all food is bad for you. But yeah, that's my killer of choice. A big full rack of ribs plus ribs on the side. 2 sides of mashed potatoes, a gravy, and a nice full thing of bread. Nice bread. And I'll get sauce on the side as well, some extra barbecue sauce. I'm also thinking about just maybe getting a bloomin' onion as well, because I do like the blooming onions. Another greasy thing that I don't really need to eat. And it's like, well, you're working out. Well, I'm working out, and I know I'm not trying to slim up a little bit. I'm trying to bulk up at least the muscle area more. And you need some of that shit for that. But like I said, I don't really go to restaurants. I haven't been to a restaurant in a long time. So doing this, and that certain house guests of mine are not going to be here for a long time today, I'm like, instead of cooking today, I feel like I'm going to just go out and pick up something. And I pick it up and I take it home and eat it. I don't eat it at the restaurant. I only eat at restaurants if I got company and I go out with them, and then we'll go to a restaurant. But if it's just me, I want to come home, eat that stuff. I'll eat it and watch a movie or something like that and enjoy my night. So that is my plan for today. That is basically my plan. And then after all that, a bunch of gaming, of course. I definitely will do a bunch of gaming, of course, but yeah, a lot of stuff. So stuff to be talking about. I'm only going to go through this Phil Spencer stuff for a little bit here, and some other stuff that I was reading about, the whole Phil Spencer leaving amicably. I can't speak either. I can't speak English either. Amicably from Microsoft, which I'm still saying he was basically forced out. And I'm not meaning, hey, Phil, get the fuck out. We're pushing you out. I'm saying, no, we're gonna, you're no longer with the company, or they're giving him goals that he can't meet, and they're basically pushing him out by stressing him out or whatever. There's many ways you could push a person out of a company, folks. So it's not just, oh, you're fired, get out of here, and, push them out that way. Or, you give them hard tasks or impossible tasks or goals that they cannot meet, and then you're just like, whoosh, 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 sweeping out behind them. And he is going to still remain there for a little bit period of time to train Ashashana. If I said her name, Asha Sharna, the Miss AI Queen there, which only, to be truthful here also, she's only been at the company for like a couple years, so we can't even really call her the AI Queen of anything, but put her in a position of AI, and before that she was in Meta for social media and another place, and then the Wood Company, which I noticeably, when I was listening to other people's podcasts out there, a lot of them skipped the fact that she worked at the Home Depot, that she was like president or something at the Home Depot for a short period of time as well. So, executive role or whatever at Home Depot. And I'm like, yeah, the Wood Company. She likes wood. She likes getting wood. Say it what you will. Anyways, yeah. Originally, I was going to call this podcast something different. At the very last second, I'm like, you know what, Mr. Mike? There's going to be more talk about Sony and Warner Brothers games and stuff like that than just Microsoft stuff today. And if you did not hear about the Sony talk here, but yeah, originally I was going to call this episode the GamezAttack podcast, episode 94, Rest in Peace P3. That's what originally was. But then I'm like thinking, so I'm going to do this 2 weeks in a row talking about just Microsoft and P3 and Xbox and stuff. And I'm like, nah. Mr. Mike, first off, he didn't really die. He just died from the company, or he's dying from the company. He's not even dead from the company, because he's still there for a little bit to train and, go through final stuff. And he's been doing that for a while, stepping this lady up to his spot. And two, I'm like, well, we already did our whole episode on complaining about how they ousted Phil Spencer. So, that got a lot of views. That got a ton of listens already. If you listen to my earlier podcast, the GamezAttack podcast, episode 93, or watch it on YouTube, or watch an OldFreakyGamer and listen to it as well, it is a banger. I go on a lot of rants. I talk about a lot of bullshit. And yeah, a lot of stuff has been going on. And then I've been hearing everybody else's talk. And also I've come to, some conclusions. Then some people were saying about, we got people out there that don't like to hear all aspects of what this could be. And one of those aspects that some certain individuals were complaining about, that they didn't like, that they think people are fucking bullshit, that they were calling us all assholes and stuff like that. They get really mad when you try to open up to many possibilities of what this ousting of Phil Spencer could have been. They get really angry when, oh no, this and that, or oh, how they should be ashamed of themselves for even mentioning this. And I'm like, if you're doing reporting, and if I'm doing reporting here, which I do, and I try to do it the best of my ability, and if I come up with, ideas or extra stuff, you shouldn't be ousted for that idea. Unless if you're actually doing it and involved in it. If I'm just spitballing something there and, but in this world that we created here now, everybody likes to, shut down and condemn people with ideas that like to speak out. I don't care about people speaking out and stuff. I care about people that act on those speak outs, or act on those, things that they say. If I'm spitballing and I'm saying, hey, this is all just, whatever, I don't like the fact that certain people do not like it when people, mention stuff or think ideas of what could have happened behind the scenes. So I mentioned something about Asha Sharna. I said, hey, she's an Indian woman, which of course, no, you shouldn't say that because, and I'm like, well, you know, Nadella is Indian, she's Indian. And then we had this whole situation in our country, here in our country, and I'm sure elsewhere as well, where we have all these DEI hires out there that everybody was DEI hiring, that it was a mandate of the Biden administration and all this other bullshit and stuff. And I'm like, I was like, well, I spitballed and I said, well, Asha Sharon is Indian and maybe she was a DEI hire because, you know, on top of it, you got Satan Nadella. I'm just going to keep calling him Satan Nadella. It's a lot easier because he is the devil of all things now. And I used to like the guy when he first came in and he was like doing stuff. But then after a while, after all the behind him talking and all the stuff, then he never really cared about the gaming business as well and he wanted to get rid of it. I just really disliked him and his lack of vision and stuff, and that he was only focused on certain things, which of course only focused on this AI bullshit. And of course, that my fears became truth on that. But the whole thing of DI hires, her being Indian, him being, I spitballed that. And you're allowed to do that. I would not criticize anybody else for spitballing stuff like that, you know. And for other podcasters and people out there that have weak minds and weak, you know, abilities to just open up and speak their minds, or they speak their minds and say everybody else is wrong and they should be ashamed of themselves for saying such a thing. Why? We're just rumoring spitballs. This isn't fact or anything, but it's, you know, it could not be, you know, it could be not even fiction. And for the fact that these individuals have to say that, and there's, you know, and these individuals are also, you know, seeing therapy constantly as well. So they got issues of their own on top of that. Don't complain about other people and issues and stuff like that, because I don't care if she was or not. She's not right for the role. She's just coming in there to, you know, make a stand, to be there because she's, you know, trying to get her pathway up in executives. You know, that's what people do. They like to they want more power. They want to keep going up the ladder and stuff like that. And it's business for her. And all the companies she's been at, she hasn't been at any of these companies very long. And she was fast-tracked into management, as people were also stating. So I'm wondering, why would she be picked to be the leader of this? Now, also, we all know Sarah Bond originally was going to be maybe the leader of Xbox, but we all know she was not going to be cutting that. Even they understood she wasn't going to be cutting it, and she got offended, and she, of course, left, because why would you stay at a company that doesn't think you're good for the role? And a lot of people behind the scenes didn't really care for her. People outside the company liked her because, you know, she worked well with them, and and this whole thing, oh, why does these people have to be gamers? Why do these? And a lot of people were saying that as well, and criticizing people's comments like mine, saying, well, why do they have to be gamers? They can be just this and that. I'm like, yeah, but you want somebody that understands the business. That's what I'm saying. If you understand gaming and you have somewhat of a passion of gaming, I would rather hire you in my business. If I'm running a gaming business, I'd rather hire you over somebody that's just been an executive at other places. I would hire somebody that has knowledge and is passionate, that can bring this business or has ideas for this business that can flourish. She's learning this business as we speak. And, you know, I don't care if she has a big gaming profile or she doesn't, or if they're secretly behind the scenes padding her gaming profile, because remember, you might see her games profile and it has some games on there and it has some games that have been beaten and all that other stuff. And she probably, I think she has kids, I don't know. So, you know, they play it. She says her family plays the other one. She got her own Xbox, you know, gamer tag, just to start her own profile and stuff. It doesn't matter how many games she plays. It just matters if she understands it, to me. And being not, you know, a big gamer, mostly being a parent gamer. You know, my mom was a parent gamer. I know other parents that game, but they weren't gamers out there. they were light gamers, but they weren't in the know or knowledge of the industry or beyond what crazy like me to like and understand the industry better than like I got friends at work that they know games, but they're not a part of the gaming industry. And when I tell them stuff, they're like, "Oh, really? I don't know that." I'm like, you wouldn't know that because you're not reading the articles. You're not listening to the industry. You're not into the industry learning and knowledge and all that stuff. And this is beyond playing games. And for a person like her, yes, she could play some games. And if some of those games were padded because she works at Microsoft, and you never know, higher ups could have changed some stuff. And like I said, this is just all speculation. This isn't me saying and, blaming, putting blame or anything on. But she doesn't have those credentials to be at that job role. Now, you have Matt Booty, who has been there for a while. He has those credentials. Now, is he the right person to take over? Who knows? They had that one Sony guy that became in charge of PlayStation not too long ago. He's not a gamer. We knew that he was not a gamer, but he was just in charge of the business. And he even said, "I'm not really a gamer. I'm just in charge of the business part of it." Now, they're trying to make her seem like she's a gamer. She's trying to go out there acting like one of the gamers. She's trying to pretend to be somebody she's not. And then she keeps saying, "Oh, I'm learning the business, learning this and learning that." I would have said, well, if you wanted to get into this role, you should have been into trying to get into other roles that are gaming-esque. And shame on Microsoft and Nadella and people for putting her in that position. And I'm not just saying the position of being the Xbox CEO, but putting her in that position where they want her to be that gamer kind of woman and put her in that position where she's going to be leading a division she has no real knowledge of. And it doesn't matter how much training she gets from Phil Spencer or Sarah Bond or anybody else there, Matt Booty, she's not going to be taken as well as said like a Phil Spencer who is involved from the very beginning with games. He likes games. He does that games. Matt Booty. That's why Sarah Bond, and I always said Sarah Bond, I don't think she really cared about the gaming division. She's just being there to be an executive. Plus, a lot of people are saying, well, they shouldn't discredit her for being there. And she was there as a president, but she was second in command. She wasn't the top dog. She can help make decisions and rules, but she was not fully in charge of Xbox. Phil Spencer was in charge of Xbox. She was like the vice president. She was the second in command. She wasn't fully in charge, so he could shoot down her decisions, ideas, etc., and she had other people around her that could, help her learn and stuff like that. So she technically wasn't the main man. If she was put in there as the main man, like right now, if she was put in, if they did give Sarah Bond the role of Xbox CEO, yes, she's been there for a few, years. She's been there. She's been working behind the scenes with Phil and all them and stuff like that. But her doing her whole, oh yeah, Xbox, she was a figurehead. She was somebody there to put on a nice face and then behind the scenes maybe try to do stuff but not understand stuff. And we'll get into talking about that as well on her part there. And but overall, I don't have much faith in Ashashana. Sorry if I'm butchering your name considerably. She's got a lot of stuff to do. I think it's unfair for her to be in that role, even though, like I said, I don't think she really deserves the role in the position. But I also think it's unfair for her and to her that she's being put in that position because we as gamers, and me knowing the industry and you all hopefully knowing somewhat of the industry, we all know a lot of people are assholes out there and there's going to be a lot of gamer hate against her, a lot of Xbox fan person hate on her and stuff like that from both men and women, especially men, because a lot of gaming men out there are very small in the dicks. I'm going to say that right now, very small in the dicks, and they try to do the Gamergate thing on everybody that's a woman in the gaming industry. Shit, I would love to have more women that are love and have passion for games, that love gaming, that understand gaming and the business and stuff. I would love more women in those roles of power over in the gaming industry, but there's not that many. And two, they get, those very few get always harassed and stuff by very small minded men that don't care or want to understand. And they think, oh, no, this is a man's thing. This is a man's thing. Shit. If I ever find that woman that's a gaming woman and she's passionate about video games and media and stuff like that, I would be very happy to have her as my girl. Just saying right now, I wouldn't. I'd be like, good, somebody else that's on the same page as me and not just like, oh, you play those video games, eh? Oh, that seems like a waste of time. Oh, I hate those. Hence why I'm still single, ladies. Any lady out there that likes video games, likes to work out, likes to play video games, stuff like that. Hey, I'm right here. I'm almost 40, but I still look good. I am here for you. I'll support you. If you want to make video games, I'll very much support you, because then I can bounce off my stupid ideas to her and be like, hey, make this game, make this kind of game. Pitch this game. But like I said, women, video games, I don't mind. But like I said, there's a lot of pricks out there that don't like that. And like I said, I hope she doesn't get a lot of that gamer hate. And I hope she tries to do well. But like I said, I have very little faith in this lady. We'll find out. This upcoming summer, we'll find out if she... because, they'll have their Xbox summer games and stuff like that. I don't know if they're going to do anything previous to that, but we'll see what she's got ideas about and stuff. And hopefully others within the Xbox part of the company help her out and help her with decision making and stuff. And hopefully the top doesn't keep fucking Xbox over. I'm just saying, because it's in a very, very shallow, dangerous place, even though they're kind of getting back to, I'm just going to say, they're getting a little, they should be a little happier. Because Sony's doing their own bullshit, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. And Steam, well, Steam is Steam. Like I said, if Xbox went away or got so bad and Game Pass and all that went away and blah, 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 I would just be on Steam, because Steam would just have, they have like all the games. They get all the games and stuff, which is still surprising. And it's still surprising why a lot of countries and people are saying, oh, you're a monopoly. And I'm like, but there's other people that sell games everywhere, PC, whatnot. And I always mention this. I'm like, and Steam isn't the cheapest place to put your games on to get sold, because they take a very large percentage from people for their games. So I'm like, well, if you got Xbox, PC gaming, you got the Epic Store, you got all these other game stores you can sell your games on, and then they're still putting them on Steam, because I know that's the thing to do, but they're not the cheapest to get money from. So people are just doing it to do it, but they can go elsewhere. If people start just not putting their games on Steam and just put them on the Xbox Game Store or the Epic Store and stuff, I'm sure people would just go to those stores to get their games on PC and stuff. As long as they don't have to go to a third party, what do you call it? Third party. I'm trying to think of the name now, because I'm always blocking out the critical stuff that I want to talk about. The third-party launchers. There we go. Third-party launchers, like a few people like to do. Like Blizzard still does with the Diablo, and Rockstar does with their Rockstar launcher, and of course Ubisoft, which is a horrible launcher, which I definitely don't buy no games on PC from Ubisoft, because they insist on going through their launcher to launch the game, instead of me just purely buying the game from like a Steam or a Xbox for PC and being able to play the game natively from its own thing and get achievements, of course, if I was on the Xbox platform, PC platform. But no, they want to still stranglehold people with those stupid launchers, and I hate that. And that's why I try to stay away from that stuff, even though Rockstar does put their games on and they do have achievements in their games on the Xbox for PC store, but you still got to download the Rockstar launcher, which sucks, but at least they offer the achievements. Ubisoft doesn't even give you achievements for that, which is another big no-no for me as a gamer and an achievement whore. But still, let's get back to what I was talking about, the whole outing. So rest in peace, Phil Spencer. We will miss you. I hope you go get another job in the game industry, maybe somewhere better. I don't know. Maybe go help out Sony. Maybe Sony needs some help on their end. Maybe he'll join Nintendo. Maybe we'll see Phil Spencer in Nintendo. That'd be crazy, right? If we see Phil Spencer, president of Nintendo or something or whatever. Oh man, that'd be crazy. Hopefully he doesn't go to Unity or something like that, because then you know what happens to those unfortunates that go to those places. But with also new leadership, this was thrown out there. I don't know how big this is. I don't know who this is. I know a lot of people don't know who this is. But there's a new leadership at Xbox, and his name is Craig Sinkota. Craig Kotata. Sorry if I butcher your name. Sakata? Is it Sinkata? Maybe? Is not an unfamiliar name within Microsoft. He joined the company in 2006. So I guess this is a guy that was in Microsoft since 2006, during what many consider Xbox's golden era, when the 360 was dominant force in the market. At the time, however, he was not working on Xbox. He began under the Windows division as PR manager before moving over to the Xbox in 2010 as director of communications. In 2013, he stepped into the role of director of sports marketing, which is a position that people didn't realize existed until this was researched. After 7 years at Microsoft, since Kotata left the company in 2013 to join Porsche. He would not return to Microsoft until 2016, where he has remained ever since, initially working on HoloLens before transitioning to Azure and then cloud and AI. Of course, AI. There's always got to be AI, but I know that's a part of the cloud, so unfortunately for him, he had to do stuff with AI in the cloud and Azure. So he worked on the back ends. He worked on HoloLens, so he's got some stuff in the company. I still wished HoloLens would have became a nice thing for us, AR instead of the VR vision. That would be pretty cool. I'd like some AR glasses. That presentation that they showed all of us that blew me away with playing Minecraft in AR, where I could just have Minecraft right here in front of my table here, and I could just be playing Minecraft, breaking blocks and stuff. That was the coolest thing. And I wish I could do that and play that, but that never became a thing. So for those unfamiliar with the role, a chief of staff works directly alongside the CEO. It's not typically a public-facing position, but is one closest roles to executive leadership. Let's see here. So interestingly, Sinkotata, sorry, I'm still butchering it, or Greg, and Asha Sharma, that's right. The new CEO of Xbox do share professional history. Sharma worked, let's see here, worked at Porsche CEO between 2017. During that period, served as senior vice president, head of communications. 2013. I'm trying to read. I forgot why I picked this. Okay, so he worked at all these other places. Now, directly before stepping into his new role as chief of staff at Xbox. So he's now the chief of staff of Xbox. Sinkotata served as general manager of communications for Cloud AI. Yeah, they just said this. This is like a double thing in this article. So basically he's going to be, part of Xbox again, or for the first time and Man, this story is like really weird how they were talking, how they're writing all this stuff. They say the same thing like over and over again in this article. I should have read this article more thoroughly, but he's going to be a part of it. He's been with the company back and forth. And he's going to help run more stuff with, he's going to be the Sarah mate? No, because Matt Booty's like the Sarah of the fill-in Sarah. You know, and I guess he's just going to be running other changes or other things in Microsoft. Well, he's been there, and I got nothing more to say, but let's just say he's going to be a part of Xbox, and he has been at Microsoft, and he has been at, done stuff with everything from HoloLens to cloud, Azure, AI, stuff like that. So, yeah. And that's Craig Sincata. Craig Sincata. We'll see what he does. And if maybe he'll do more PR as well, because he is the leadership of staff but at Xbox. But we'll see. We'll see what else happens. I'm talking about more about that and Sarah Bond and stuff like that. Apparently, the whole this is an Xbox campaign apparently offended a lot of the Xbox employees over at Microsoft for some reason, because people are like, oh, yeah, well, if everything's an Xbox, what about Xbox itself? See, I always thought this campaign was okay. Now, I wish they would have maybe, I don't know, made some background changes, or they would have, you know, got the thing that people wanted to happen. If they would have got, which I don't know if they're still even working on, or if they will try or not try, if they could get it a PC able to play, which, you know, natively or whatever you consider it, if they are able to get our Xbox games from Xbox original to the end, to the Series X, let's just say, to be playable, either, well, you could stream. Okay, this is my weird question point on that. Natively versus remotely, because I can play all my Xbox games technically, like I keep saying, and I kept saying, technically I can play all my Xbox games from my console and whatnot remotely, or in a lot of times via cloud, but via cloud is less, and you know, but remotely I can play all my disc-based games or my digital games to my raw gallery or PC here, or various things, and I could do that remotely. Now, if they're able to make a container program or something that could run these games, and I mean the digital part of the games, because disc-based games, I'm going to say to all you gamers out there, I'm sorry, disc-based games, don't think those are going to be backwards compatible with your PC, on your PC or whatever like that, because first off, most PCs don't come with hard drive or disk drives anymore, unless if you build it yourself like I do, and it's going to be mostly digital. So if you got a digital library of these games from the original Xbox and, you know, beyond, if they can make those playable on a PC, raw gallery, all that stuff, TV set, if you've got a streaming and stuff, then they should have did this is an Xbox campaign. But because they don't have that stuff, you can't consider a PC, raw gallery, TV, stuff like that, Xbox fully or technically fully, because you can't play all your Xbox games. Now, others would, you know, argue that, hey, backwards compatibility isn't always guaranteed with every device. Look at Sony and Nintendo. They don't always back up on those things. And yes, that's true. But Microsoft originally, with Phil Spencer and such, always had the thing of, hey, we're going to support backwards compatibility, and we're going to keep going with this as best as we can, because we feel the value of these games from before, and we want to keep pushing them to the future, because we know a lot of you want to still play these games for centuries to come. And, you know, a lot of these older, still backwards compatible games are still able to be sold and sold on the stores and stuff like that. A lot of them aren't because of rights and bullshit like that, and companies going under and blah, 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 blah. But if you own a copy of those games, shouldn't you technically, or own a copy or own a license? I should say, if you own a digital license to one of those games, or renting, or whatever they want to consider calling having a digital license to one of those games, shouldn't you be able to play those on all your devices? Meaning all your Microsoft, Xbox, PC devices. Yes. And they can sandbox that. They can, lock it down just to play these games. They can lock down their Xbox PC apps. They could do that. Why not? Just keep everything else open, but lock down your Xbox PC app and make it secure and say, hey, you can't, People are worried about that and worried about all that stuff. But otherwise, I thought it was an interesting plan. I liked how the campaign said, hey, my ROG Ally, my PC can be an Xbox because I can play my Xbox games. And, they did various things to try to make that better, like Xbox Play Anywhere. A great thing. I love that. I hope they keep doing it. I hope they do it better. I hope they get more companies on board with that, depending on how well their reputation and stuff is going. But still, I hope they can get more people on board with that, where we can buy one game, be able to play it on anything, meaning our PC or Xbox and stuff, and via cloud. If you're just also one of those crazy people that will play your games on a phone and from the cloud with a thing, and I'm not going to get into that, but still, I would like that. I know it's all about price and stuff like that, and I know this would probably be a very unpopular opinion, but if I buy a game and they make an Xbox Play Anywhere, and they can do this. They can just have, do you want to buy an Xbox Play Anywhere title or not? But we'll keep it simple. We'll just say, hey, this game is going to be an Xbox Play Anywhere title, but you're going to have to pay an extra $10 for this because the company that makes the game wants to make more money off this game. So we got to give them an extra $10 in order to allow us to have this be played both on your Xbox and PC. Would you do it? I would consider doing it, but also, I'd be like, well, are you going to also have a version of this game just only for Xbox and only for PC, which they do on a lot of accounts for a lot of these purchases. I noticed on the Xbox store, if you go to the Xbox website, some of them say, hey, this is only Xbox version. This is only PC version. This is the Xbox Play Anywhere version. And they could probably do that. And then those versions could be like the $70 versions. And then if you want the Xbox Play Anywhere version, you got to chip out another $80 or wait till it goes on sale down the road. I would be very favorable for that if I was able to get an Xbox Play Anywhere title. Most likely, I'd probably just buy it for a PC anyways. So it wouldn't matter because that's the whole thing for me. I want to be able to play this game on PC. But if I was thinking, well, maybe I might want to play this on the Xbox for some reason, sure, I would like to be able to have that choice to be able to play it on Xbox or PC, and I would shell out another $10 for that. Now, could they do that? Yes, they could do that. Would people like that? Probably not, because people don't like anything, and games are so expensive as now. And they're just going to keep getting more expensive, including hardware and all that. And of course, nobody's going to be able to afford gaming in the future, at least most people. And yes, it's not just Microsoft, it's everybody. But basically, Sarah Bond was in charge. She was the one that created or came up with the whole Xbox Anywhere campaign. This is an Xbox campaign, and she pushed it, and she tried to make it as best as she could. And a lot of people inside the company did not like that, and they got offended internally because of, the cohesive experience to all platforms. And the whole goal is to, of course, have a larger install base and stuff like that. And it goes farther beyond. It goes on, this is an Xbox, technically, which PlayStation is not an Xbox. Nintendo Switch isn't an Xbox. But a lot of their first-party titles you can play on those devices, or more on PlayStation than Nintendo, but still, you're going to be able to play some of those games. And to me, I'm like, fine, share the wealth, do all that stuff, all that great stuff. Now, also people think, well, this is diluting the whole, this is an Xbox. They're diluting, this box that used to just play the games here is diluting the whole value of owning an Xbox box console in general. To me, it's like, well, you're giving them more stuff, more areas to buy and own your game at. And like I said, consoles are very expensive, and a lot of people keep going to PlayStation over Xbox, even though they don't have as many first-party titles coming out and all that stuff, and even more so. My thing is, going forward, if people want to play on a console itself, it's going to be very expensive. It's going to be very technical. And Microsoft, this is what they should go do, or Xbox, Microsoft should do for going further. They should have it where if you're going to play one of their games or whatever, and you want to play it in their ecosystem, but you don't want to buy their console, like I said, you can buy it on PC, you could play it on PlayStation, you could play it on Nintendo, but they should not be worried about, and gamers out there should not be worried about, we should have to own an Xbox to play great Xbox titles and games and stuff like that. But Microsoft should also say, hey, we know you're probably not going to be wanting to buy these consoles in the future, but we're still going to put one out as a reference box for people that are interested in playing this console or playing these games on just an Xbox console. We will have this hardware which is optimized and 1-to-1 ratio for the games going forward, if it be Xbox or PC games. And that's what I think they were trying to do with this next upcoming Xbox that is going to be playing. It can play both Xbox and PC games and stuff like that all into one. Now, if that's the goal going forward, just say, hey, this is a reference box. It's not going to, and we know it's not going to be cheap, but they can even say, hey, this is not going to be a cheap box, but we're going to make it a premium box, and we're going to make sure this premium box can play all your games going forward until you make a new upgraded box and stuff like that. But we understand if you don't want to buy this box, you don't have to, because you could play on all these other devices and other things with the games, but we want to keep it for you guys, you core gamers that still want an Xbox console, to have that. Or if you don't want to own a PC or something like that, you can play it on this, and it will play all your games from back to forward to now and beyond on this reference machine, this premium reference machine. Now note, as a gamer going forward, me personally, I say most of these games I would love to just see in the Xbox PC store going forward and beyond, and I would like all third-party game developers to start maybe hopefully porting more of their games or putting more of their games on the Xbox PC store, because me going forward, I'd rather just play all my games on PC. And, Microsoft, Xbox will get my money still through there. You all get my money, and I'll still get my achievements and stuff like that. And I think that would just be a good way to go, and plus the fact that all consoles, and I'm talking about the PlayStation 5 and beyond, and Nintendo Switch, as we're hearing rumors that, Nintendo might up the price of the Nintendo Switch, which that would suck for a lot of people, that is going to consider saying, well, what would you rather spend $1,000 or more on? Would you rather spend your $1,000+ on just a basic machine that just plays games and only does the certain games that it can play and all that? Or would you want to buy a box that you can do more with, like a PC? Because my thing is, why wouldn't people want to be buying a PC? It's expensive, right? But what could you do with a PC? You play games on it. You could do your homework, go internet. You can do your office stuff on it. You can do many, many things with a PC. And usually you would rather need a PC to do a lot of things that we do nowadays, to go on the internet, shop, watch stuff, do work. I do my work on here. I do my video production on here. I do my gaming on here. I do my I just did my accounting stuff on here. I do a lot of stuff with my PC. A lot of people probably do a lot of stuff on their PCs. So going forward, I would think making the PC the best option, and of course making Windows better for the PC, because still people cry and complain about Windows and Windows 11, which also technically, I don't know if it's just, and I say this just saying it because it's me, my machine, I don't run into too many big major issues with my Windows 11 PC. You know, I had one issue maybe a while back, and that I just resetted the PC and it worked pretty flawlessly. But otherwise, my PC's been really good with all Windows 11 updates. The operating system has been decent. I was holding off for a while, but I'm like, I might as well get Windows 11, because if they're going to sunset Windows 12, which they did, or Windows 10, which they did, and it's like, why not? Because I heard Windows 11 had better dual plus multi-monitor support and all that other stuff. And I'm like, why not? Why not? And I did. And you know what? It was painless for me. But that's because I'm also a big geek, PC hardware geek as well. So it's like, yeah, okay. It's I can understand people don't like Windows, but I think the whole, Windows sucks, Windows is the worst thing ever, I think it's way overblown. I think people just are too lazy to want to learn. And I don't know how you get through life not knowing how to use a PC when most of the stuff you use at your jobs, daily jobs, a lot of places, a lot of people use Windows-based PCs. They're not using Linux-based PCs. They're using Windows-based PCs. Every job I went to, even my current restaurant job, we're using Windows or stupid Mac iOS crap, but still, not much Linux going on anywhere. And for Linux, it's decent, and I'm not discrediting Linux because I still would consider putting Linux on one of my older computer boxes, but you got to jump through a lot of hoops to try to get things to work with Linux. And of course, a lot of games don't work with Linux, and a lot of other things, you got to get these software and drivers from shady people to get it working. People don't understand how much more effort it takes to do stuff on Linux than Windows. A lot of the normal stuff that you do on Windows, like installing apps, doing this and that, not all of it you can do on Linux. You know, you could do most things on Linux, but not everything on Linux. And you're going to have to evolve and change the way you do your stuff. And you might have to be your own IT person even more on a Linux box, when most people would just know, oh, you don't understand how to do this on PC. You can just type it in and look it up, and 99% of the time you find easily what you need to figure out for your PC. And like I said, I believe that in this world, and today in this world, most people should know how to use a PC by now. We had PCs since I was a little baby, before I was a baby. And I used Windows 3.1 when I was a little kid, little Mr. Mike. I remember Windows 3.1 very well. All the 10 floppy disks that I had to put in the computer and stuff, and Microsoft Paint and all that. But from then on, throughout the years, I used a lot of Windows throughout that. So I don't understand why people don't do that. I think everybody's too used to their tablets and phones and stuff, and and that's not a good way to go through life. I don't know, especially if you want a game. And trust me, the best gaming is on PC. You get the best graphics, the best this, that, the best overall. But anyways, I can understand why internally they didn't like Bond for that. Also, they didn't like her for some of her leadership stuff as well. But I don't know. This is an Xbox. I thought it was a fun, nice, interesting campaign that, it wasn't fully baked, but at least they were trying something. Now, Sony, on the other hand, and now we're going to get out of Microsoft. Let's get out of Microsoft here. Now, Sony, on the other hand, they're going back to the basics. They're going backwards on all this stuff. And I'm not upset, but I'm just like, really? You really going to go backwards on this? So, and a lot of people are saying this is a rumor, but I heard this is actually also true. So take it as you will on this. Apparently, Sony slash PlayStation is deciding to go back on exclusive games, as they state their PC push has failed. Meaning, congratulations, folks. We had some PlayStation games come to Steam and stuff, and then nowhere really else except for Xbox for the MLB The Show, which they were pushed into. Now, note, they didn't want to do it, but the MLB made them make MLB games for the Xbox. But going in for the future titles, especially Xbox first-party games, those are all going to just be Sony PlayStation-only titles going forward. I think, personally, this is narrow-minded thinking, because originally there were the executives at Sony PlayStation were like, oh no, we're gonna try hard to open up the doors here and try to get a lot of these games on the PC and Steam, because costs are going up. Costs to make these games are going up, and even though we got a lot of people buying PlayStations, we're not making the money that we used to via these games and these PlayStations and stuff. So, as me personally, even if they didn't want to put these games on Xbox at all, or Nintendo Switch or anything like that, and they just wanted to put it on PC and the PlayStation, I'm like, well, at least you're trying. But they weren't even really trying with that. And the whole thing of them, to be clear, and I'll read this story out here. So, rumors have been swirling for a while now that Sony is reconsidering its PC strategy and leaning towards PlayStation exclusive games again. And I think they're also trying to do that because they know Microsoft is flapping and fluttering about, and that the whole Xbox division is like a fish flapping out of water, trying to catch its breath and stuff. And they're like, we can be dominant, even more dominant again, because Microsoft's fucking up the gaming platform over there, so we might as well just pretend we're the only ones here again. And that's not good for business, people, because you need at least 3 competitors in this market. At least 3. I don't know. I still think we could have had a 4th sometime, but you need at least 3 in this market. You need a 3. You need a PlayStation, you need an Xbox, you need a Nintendo, or once was a Sega before they got out of hardware, but still, you need 3 people to compete in this industry, or else you're going to get a lot of narrow-minded slop, higher prices, and them controlling how games go. That's not good for business. That's not good for the gaming industry as a whole. And Sony's doing what a Japanese Asian company will do. They're like, oh, we're going to just get spinning, even though we haven't been doing well ourselves with the games coming out and all that. But hey, we're going to make all our new titles. So I'm guessing that whole God of War remake trilogy is going to just go to PlayStation. It's not going to go on the PC like I thought it would be, because I was super happy to buy the God of War remake trilogy on Steam, and now I'm guessing that's not going to happen. So I'm like, well, there goes that dream down the drain. Blah, blah, blah. And I was hoping that Wolverine would go maybe to the PC, to Steam. I don't know if that still might happen or not, but if it does, that'd be great. If not, because I'm never going to buy a PlayStation. There's not enough stuff that I like from PlayStation and Sony nowadays that would get me to buy a PlayStation anymore. Expensive box that I will never use, that I'll never want to play games on. There's no freaking way that they can get me to buy a PlayStation again. I'm sorry. And it doesn't matter. If I don't get another Xbox again either, it doesn't matter. But I can play at least those games on my PC from Microsoft. Sony, I was like, oh, good. I can get your Sony games on Steam or something, If you're never going to put them on Xbox, and I don't want to buy your console, at least I can play these games on a PC. But, I guess that they didn't know it. So apparently, that they have credible evidence, and journalists and insiders lending credence to these rumors, noting that PC sales of PlayStation Studios games aren't selling enough to justify multi-platform launches. Well, there's another reason for why they are not selling enough to justify multi-platform launches. First off, the games are too expensive. first off, when these games come out to PC, they're coming out months or years even after these games have come out on a PlayStation. Two, they're selling them for still $70+. And they keep that price on the Steam store for a very, very long time. So they're not going on sale. They're not getting any cheaper over time. They're solidly, like, I would like to buy Spider-Man 2 eventually. But that's still a solid $69.99, I think. Let me go check. I know shit is going to happen here because I'm going to turn on Steam. I haven't turned on Steam in a long time, so I know it's going to update. It's going to do this. It's going to pop up a bunch of stuff. So let's see of all this bullshit it's going to do over here. But I want to see what, as I'm logging in and all this pop-ups are going on in here, how much is... They got a Ubisoft sale going on, publisher sale, up to 90% off on Ubisoft games. How much is Spider-Man 2? I got Spider-Man 1. Okay, it's $60. So it's still up there. It's still up there. And it came out in 2025, folks. This game came out in 2025. And they still think it's worth almost $60. It's going to be $60 worth sales tax, because I got to pay sales. Oh, no, it says, wait. That's if you buy Marvel's Spider-Man 2 Digital Deluxe Edition. Okay. So if you want the Digital Deluxe Edition bundle, that's $70. So it's $60. Okay. So it's $60 for Spider-Man 2. And it's $70 for Spider-Man 2 Digital Deluxe Edition. This game came out in 2025, January 30th, 2025. So the beginning of 2025. It is 2026, people, a year later, and this game is still super, super expensive. It should be $40 or less by now. And I know a lot of people have different views and opinions on what should be the cost of stuff, but it's been over a year and they still think this game is worth $60. On top of it, Sony has been and I've been hearing this from many people. I haven't had any problems yet because I only own a few Sony games. I own Horizon, which I still got to play that. I own Ratchet and Clank, The Thing Through Time. I own Spider-Man 1. I think I own Spider-Man 1 now because I think that eventually went on sale. And I do own Spider-Man Miles Morales. So I think I do own Spider-Man. I'll have to check my thing again on Steam. Let me check it. Let me check. I got to check my library. Do I own Spider-Man 1 here? Yes, I own Spider-Man Remastered and Spider-Man Miles Morales, and I own Horizon Zero Dawn Complete Edition. So I do own a few Sony PlayStation titles here. And I bought those when those got cheaper because I was like, well, I'm not spending $60, $70 on these games when they've been a year old or something. They've been on the PlayStation for a long time. And I'm like, well, I don't know when I'm ever going to play them, but I will. But also, like I was saying, or I was going to say, these PlayStation games have also been sloppily put on the PC store with lots of glitches, a lot of stuff that they had to patch, a lot of stuff that was not working right. And, they had some terrible PC running issues as well. They ran poorly. So what if that's their whole thing of, our games aren't selling well on PC? Well, first off, you're not promoting them well because Sony, sometimes they don't promote things very well. They did the whole thing, well, this isn't on our PlayStation, so we're not really going to promote this very well. So that's their first thing because there hasn't been that much advertising of these games coming to PC. And when they do, they do a little advertising, but that's about it. And two, they're not fully supporting them. They're not making sure these games are running well at the start. And if your game isn't running well on the start, PC gamers out there, or gamers in general, or PC gamers definitely in general, if your game ain't working on PC, they're not going to want to play your fucking game unless if it's running correctly on their PCs or running well and optimized for playing on a gaming PC of the choice. And Sony didn't do a good job with that. And then I thought they were going to go and try to get more studios and more look into better studios to help make these games get ported to PC. So this is Sony's fault on why the PC sales are lower, and they're not doing as well for multi-platform, because Sony didn't put the effort into doing it. And if you don't put the fucking effort into doing it, as you do for your PlayStation console, and you think of this as a secondary thing, of course your sales are not going to be as good as you want it to be. So whose fault is that? So, of course, Sony's decided, like I said, this is still speculation and rumored and stuff until we hear officially from Sony. But it's kind of clear, though, because I haven't seen anything like Astrobot coming to PC. There was a couple other titles that didn't come to PC. I was kind of really hoping for Astrobot, to tell you the truth. I would definitely love to play it. Even though it's like all about the PlayStation thing, I would still have bought an Astrobot on Steam if they would have sold it. But they didn't do that. They didn't do a lot of other stuff. And it's like, that means you just don't care. That's just because you don't care. And then you're going to go back to only owning all this stuff on PC. So now Sony's pulling the plug on the PC. And, Xbox multiplayer games to continue launching on multiple platforms. So they say expect first-party multiplayer games to continue launching on multiple platforms, I guess. And they don't really do that very well or often as well. However, between lackluster PC sales of its single-player games and witnessing the response to Xbox going multi-platform, we reckon that Sony has good reason to reconsider its approach. And the thing is, okay, if Microsoft's going multi-platform, it's because they want to make more money. Doesn't Sony want to make more money because they're not making as much money from these first-party games on the PlayStation to begin with? So wouldn't the idea to say, hey, maybe we should definitely double down on trying to get these games multi-platform and on PC? So if we're not selling as many on PlayStation or PS5, or if the next PlayStation 6 doesn't sell well because we're going to bring it out too early or something, and people aren't going to want to do it because they just got PS5 Pros or something, what's that going to say about Sony? What's that going to say about PlayStation going forward? So I don't know if they're going to make some stupid decisions and stuff. I know they're making other stupid decisions, but thinking about this and seeing what Microsoft's going through, the turmoil, like I said, they're the flapping fish right now. Like I said, and I predicted this, I'm seeing mistakes happening from the Sony side as well, because let's see how Wolverine does. Is it going to sell very well? Is it not going to sell very well? Let's see how GTA 6 does on the PlayStation 5. Will it sell gangbusters? Will it not? Will more people be waiting and holding out for a PC release of GTA 6 going forward? There's a lot of questions in the air about, should people be putting their games on these consoles if they're getting more expensive and there's less of a base of people owning them or can own them. Now, a lot of people own PlayStations, but as we also seen, a lot of people that so-called don't own Xboxes or whatever still seem like Microsoft's still getting a lot of their software sold, almost as much as PlayStation. Now, Sony is still selling more software, but Xbox is still selling almost as much software as the industry has been seeing inside, as I've been reading and hearing about. So it's not like Xbox isn't selling anything. They're selling still a ton of software. They're just not selling the hardware. Sony's selling the hardware and the software, but if they're still not making that money for the first party titles and their first party titles are going up in price, where's that gonna tip over? Or are they gonna start making a lot of smut coming out of there. They're going to start cutting corners, making games worse or whatever, you know. Like I said, Sony has not been making too many first-party titles. They have not been making too many games. So them saying that their PC sales have been lackluster, that's on Sony. Like I said, they have not been trying. They're looking. Everybody likes to look at the other guys and see what they're doing and how their stuff is going. And not just looking at themselves and going, should we do this? Should we not? If you didn't want to do this, if your hearts weren't into this PC thing to begin with, why'd you do it? Why did you put your games anywhere else but your PlayStation? If you were dead set against that, why'd you put them on the PC in the first place? That's what I don't get. Oh, we want to try it out. No, if you're going to go into doing this thing and porting your games to PC or whatnot, you do it. You don't just go, oh, we'll sprinkle a little out and see what goes on and not try. Because if you're not trying and you're sprinkling it out a little bit and you're not supporting, you're not saying, making a big splash about it, of course people aren't going to buy your fucking games on PC and whatnot. It's just the fact. It's just the fact. And on top of it, Sony makes this thing where Sony makes, which everybody's saying, a shocking decision to shut down Blue Point Games, which is another PlayStation studio that has been axed within Sony and PlayStation. That's another less studio that's making games for you. Now, note, apparently this Blue Point studio has made a lot of remakes, but they never made their own game, apparently, which is interesting to be at least, but they were making like remakes of other games like Shadow of the Colossus, Demon Souls for the PS5 remake, and a bunch of other stuff. And then they were working on some kind of stupid live service God of War title, of course. And then they got axed, their closure, that around 70 people will lose their jobs, which that means they're not the biggest studio, but they were a studio as of it is. And yeah, that means, oh, you could have had a studio there that you could have, put some extra money into and got some more talent, some stuff, and started making some like first party games or something. Cancel, of course, that live service game, but, put a little bit more effort and see what could come from it. But no, they're going to pull the plug on that studio on Blue Point. And there goes a talented team of 70 out the door amongst all the other thousands and thousands of game designers and creators out there. And what do you get? What do you got left? But yet they want to focus on PlayStation first-party exclusives and titles and stuff. But yet you're going to let people go. I am waiting, people. I am waiting anxiously. Unfortunately, I'm waiting anxiously. And this is not to say that, hey, that I want this to happen, but Bungie's not been doing very well. I don't really have too much faith in the Marathon game, but you never know. Maybe it can change their misfortunes, or maybe not. I don't know. But they haven't been doing very well. They've been sort of on a little chopping block a little bit, and I'm just waiting for Sony to eventually maybe absorb Bungie and pull the plug on them. And I think that's going to happen. I think that might happen. If Marathon does not do well at launch or through the gate at the beginning, and if Sony PlayStation doesn't have, or I'll just say Sony Play, if Sony does not have the patience for Bungie and Marathon and for the game to get fans and stuff, I do not see a future for Bungie after that. I do not see people getting their Destiny, what is it, 3, 4, whatever it is. I think it's a Destiny 3. I don't know. I don't play the Destiny games. And I don't see that studio surviving. I see it getting everybody laid off, closure. There you go. Another studio gone. Another could be great team that could work on great projects gone from the planet. And that's what you're hearing and seeing all over the gaming industry. But you hear about it more so on these bigger gaming industries like Xbox, PlayStation, Ubisoft, You don't hear it from Nintendo because they don't really do that stuff too much. But you're hearing it everywhere else. Now, could Nintendo eventually have that stuff happen to them? Maybe, possibly, but it would take a little bit. But Sony, you want people to buy more games on your system. You want people to buy more of your systems. But yet, you're closing down studios. I didn't understand that from the Xbox point of view, but like I said, I didn't know. We were all learning about how AI has been taking over Xbox and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm not really happy about this. I'm not really happy about the whole, we're not going to put games on PC anymore, and blah blah blah, and we're closing down studios, blah blah blah. That means you guys are creatively bankrupt. That means a lot of these companies are creatively bankrupt. You guys could have so many properties, so many IPs behind those closed doors, behind those portfolios, but you guys yet to try to work at any of them. That you have no vision whatsoever at any of these companies to make these IPs or resurrect IPs that people liked in the past and try to make something new. It seems really interesting why a lot of these people have nothing, but yet you see these indie studios, these little studios with, very few people making and putting out games on Steam and all these other things, and they're hitting big. They're going big for them, and they're making tons of money and blah, 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 blah. And that's beyond, your Minecrafts and Fortnites and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, got this little studio here. They can do it. They're creative. They're making some great stuff. How come you big guys can't? Maybe it's just too many executives. Maybe it's just too much of talking back and forth instead of doing. I don't know. It's remarkable on how people love PlayStation. Like I said, I used to love PlayStation so much. That was my thing. I was a PlayStation fanboy back in the day, before the 360 era. And then I became an Xbox fanboy, and now I'm like, well, I'm still sort of an Xbox fanboy, but I'm mostly a PC Xbox fanboy, and PC, it's a tight ship. But like I said, going forward, I don't see myself buying any new consoles from either Xbox or PlayStation. So none of them are going to get my extra money except for, Xbox. If they keep Game Pass alive and running for the future, then I will still be a Game Pass guy, and I'll still buy their games from the Xbox PC store. And then for Nintendo and Switch, like I said, if they come off a Switch 2 Lite or something, or that Switch 2 OLED in the future, I might be considering getting one of those. But, even they haven't been putting out too many games for the Nintendo Switch 2. It would just me be playing all my original Switch games on a Switch 2 with better hardware and stuff, which sadly, a lot of those games need better hardware to run it. That's why I haven't played the Breath of the Wild 2 yet, because I'm waiting to play it on a Switch 2 eventually in the future. So there you go. And then like I said, this is all debunked too. Will Sony's Spider-Man games ever come to Xbox? Of course not. Definitely not now, because if they're going to keep them all exclusive and Xbox not really selling many Xboxes and stuff, and why would they put any Spider-Man games on that box? Now they could to do it as a PR stunt or something. Hey, look at how many games we sold on your platform. Look at this. We sold some Xboxes to just get from our Spider-Man thing. But I doubt that they would ever do that. I doubt that would ever happen. So that's a negatory on that one. But I don't know. People keep, and I say too, Microsoft's Xbox is in deep shit due to whatever city, and everybody's like, oh, I'm hating Xbox now. I'm jumping ship to PlayStation. But you're jumping ship to another ship that's barely floating as well. You're jumping to a ship that, hey, wait, you could play all these Xbox games on this other ship. Sure, that's great. And you can play your PlayStation games and stuff. But also you're jumping to a ship that's creatively bankrupt, that's not putting out that many first-party titles as is. So what you doing? What you gonna do? You're gonna spend all that money, and PlayStation 5s aren't cheap. PlayStation 5 Pros are definitely not that cheap. So then you're gonna have this big weird thing on your console as well. I don't know. Like I said, me, more so today, like I said, PC, but Xbox for PC, then Steam, and then, like I said, maybe a future Switch too. I don't know. It is bonkers out there in the gaming universe here. Like I said, I can rag on Xbox. I can rag on PlayStation all the time. I can even rag on Nintendo sometimes. But everywhere, every studio, every place, Take-Two, I wonder if they're shitting their pants, those executives in Take-Two behind the scenes, just like, oh, Microsoft and Sony are really crumbling behind the scenes, and we can't put Grand Theft Auto 6 on the Switch 2. I'm sure Nintendo wouldn't allow that, first off, and 2, I don't think our game can handle that. And 3, we're like, well, Rockstar is very adamant about not putting Grand Theft Auto 6 on PC until like 2030 or something like that, which I'm thinking, because we're in 2026 now, 2027, 2028, 2029, 2030 at the least, because it takes at least 4 years or so for them to want to put it on a PC from there. So, yeah. So what's going to go on with the whole Grand Theft Auto thing? I cannot wait till Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out. As long as it still can be played, as long as it's still going to be coming out on a Xbox, my Xbox Series X console, if I can still get that up to play on my Xbox, I will be just fine by that. And if I can eventually, get that on PC for Xbox for PC, I would be great for that. But that's, like I said, that's another 4 years, at least 4 years till that happens. And I'll be old. I'm already going to be old. So I'm guessing Sony just no longer likes money from third party. And they, like I said, they haven't really tried. So, but like I said, Xbox not doing any better except for I'm guessing selling a lot of games on the PlayStation and elsewhere, and, Nintendo Land and Steam and stuff. So at least they're seemingly like doing something better. Let's see. I'll talk about this a little bit. So for a little bit here, I've been making these videos, especially as you can see now, and I streamed last Friday. I streamed, of course, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Intergrade again, and I'm doing it all in a higher definition in 2K at 1440p, folks. I gotta actually check it out on here because I have not seen, like, when I did my video here and I ported it. Let's see here. I'm just checking this out to see if this works or not. So this, I'm going to pause this. Okay. Let's see. Did it go up to 40? Yeah, it did. Okay. I'm happy because originally I only saw it at 1080p for my latest Final Fantasy Remake Friday on Game On Live. But they did, YouTube did put it to 1440p. They probably just had to convert it a little bit more or something. So it is in 1440p, 60 frames per second. And that's what I'm going to be doing with my videos going forward. And I think they're looking a lot better. They're crisper. I think I sound better and stuff. I know I look better. I can see it right here in the monitor right here. It is very crisp. I'm not seeing any blurring or any pixelations of anything. So that's pretty good. And playing games like Final Fantasy, which I have it on super high resolution and stuff like that. And it's, it's one of those games that is optimized for PC very well. I think Square Enix should have a nice little hand. They did a really good job of porting Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade very well on the Xbox for PC version. Very well. It works very, very well. Runs very beautifully. And I haven't had any drop frames. And that's also surprising. But my file sizes have been kind of big. Like, I think last night's show, because I'm recording this on Saturday, on Game On Live. That Game On Live was like over 32 gigabytes in size as I finally produced that video up and put it up and stuff. That 32 gigabytes. That's a lot of storage space that takes. And usually they take like 10 to 12 gigabytes for a 1080p video, but 32 something gigabytes. Yep, that's jumping a little higher in that. Well, no, I'm playing like 2 to 3 hours almost in gaming. So 1440p, that's like a Blu-ray right there. That's like watching a movie in almost 4K, which you need like a 32 to 64 gigabyte disc or even higher in a Blu-ray disc. What is it, a Blu-ray? I forgot what a Blu-ray disc is. Is it like 32, 40? Is it 80 gigs? I don't know. I think it's around 40 gigs up to or something. I think they got like the dual triple layer. I don't know. But it's a lot of data. And it's a lot of data because I save these videos on my hard drive and I'm like, man, these files used to be like 5 to 10 gigabytes. Then they went to 12 plus gigabytes. And now they're jumping to 30 something gigabytes on my hard drive. And I just want to keep them for nostalgia purposes and stuff. YouTube has not all, but most of my videos that I streamed. And I just want to keep these more recent ones because my past videos, those were done in 720, 1080p, if that, from my past Juju 2Cast days. Those are pretty horrible, but they still look and play decent, but they're archived. Those are all just on YouTube. Because I was like, I don't want to keep any of those. But now and going forward in the old freaky gamer era, I want to keep these for posterity, and they're bigger and larger. And of course, I'm going to need more drive space and stuff. And I'm going to be like, well, maybe eventually I'm going to need a bigger NOS drive. Now, note, I got giant drives in my computer right now. So I'm good on space right now for a while. But if I keep making more and more videos and adding all that up, that space will dwindle before I know it. Even if I do have 14 terabyte drives in my computer, I have like three or four, I think 14 terabyte drives in this PC, but that can go away. Luckily, there's companies making like 32 terabyte drives, almost 40 terabyte drives already. That's great. Eventually, I'll have to get one of those and just put all my HD videos on there. I still don't ever plan on doing 4K unless they make a really good 4K encoder, decoder / project ripper that doesn't take much resources and it makes the files really small. If they're going to turn out to be 100 gigabyte plus files for 4K for that stuff, and you don't have a wrapper. I heard that AV2 or something or whatever Sony is doing has something that has awesome quality and small wrapper sizes, but I'm using H.265 wrapper for my stuff, so it's still MPEG-4 but MPEG-5 as well, but still large file sizes. But it looks good. It looks great, these videos, and I'm happy, and I'm hoping you're happy because I'm doing this for also you guys. I want you guys to watch my videos and not go, oh, look at all the pixelization. This is hard to watch his video to him playing this game when I was seeing all the pixels and stuff, and it's hard to see the blacks. And when I started seeing that more and more, I'm like, yeah, these I got to do something about these videos a bit more. And I'm surprised more people haven't complained. Not many people complain. I think there was like one or two says, this one looked a little pixelated. And then it was mostly me noticing, and I'm like, my OCD took over. I'm like, Mr. Mike, you got to fix these fucking videos. So there you have it on that. But yes, all my tests were great. I just got to eventually back up my data on what I'm doing for my codecs and all that stuff, so I know my settings. So if I ever have to redo everything down the road, I can keep these settings and stuff to where I have them, because I did a lot of tweaking and stuff, and I want to back up what I know what I can do. So if I forget, I'll be like, okay, I can look at the things. I'm like, okay, I put it this, did this codec, did this, and I'm happy about it. I'm very happy. I love what I do. I love what I do for fun and stuff like that. So another quick news, Netflix dropped out of the Warner Brother Discovery hostile takeover by Paramount and Ellison Company bullshit, and I am kind of upset about that. I know a lot of these filmmakers and other people are like, no, we can't have Netflix have that. No, it'd be bad for business. Even though it wouldn't be bad for business, because I have had no real complaints about Netflix. Now, Paramount might be getting it, maybe, unless if Newsom and California has any concerns on the matter. They might block it. If they block it, that'd be fun. That'd be something I gotta say that would happen right in California. I'd have to give California one good, happy double thumbs up if they can block the Paramount takeover of Warner Brothers Discovery. And you're probably wondering, Mr. Mike, why are you talking about that if you're not watching the video version of the show? Well, first off, even though I don't really care for Netflix, Netflix does come out with some decent content once in a great while that I will watch, but they don't have enough. And they don't have enough that I like. They do experiment a lot. They do try to get a lot of original content, a lot more original content. And I was hoping really big time that they would get Warner Brothers Discovery, because then they would have more IPs. They would have bigger official studios to make better productions. They'd have imagine what they could have did with the DC properties at Netflix. We'd be getting some really awesome shit from them, I'm sure. They would hire some amazing people, get some amazing directors and people inside and outside going, oh, we can make some cool shit with all this stuff. Plus, the other question, the biggest question in my mind, besides all the extra stuff in the media, and I don't care about CNN and all them, they can go to hell, they can go under, and they're worried as shit, of course, because don't forget, this Paramount rival company, the Ellisons, are Trump people, so they know that their ticket is up because they know they're going to get shafted over there at CNN because Trump hates CNN. But the biggest thing that nobody's ever talks about, that nobody's ever talking about in any of these articles, IGN, nobody, they're just talking about the main Warner Brothers Discovery thing and stuff like that, but nobody's talking about little Warner Brothers games. I'm the only fucker here that's supporting and is acknowledging Warner Brothers games. I am fearful for them and what's going to happen to Warner Brothers games, because I bought myself a good majority of games I bought were Warner Brothers games. You got stuff from Lord of the Rings. You got the Lego games that came from Warner Brothers games. You got a lot of the other stuff that came from Warner Brothers games. They had a lot of great games. The Batman games, of course. Those were great games, of course. So I had myself a lot of decent games coming out of Warner Brothers games throughout the years. The years of I've been playing games and stuff. And I always thought, well, they might come out with some others because they got another Batman game coming out, another Lego Batman game coming out. I forgot what else they would have had coming out. Of course, Mortal Kombat's. Let's not forget about Mortal Kombat, people. NetherRealm Games. They have a lot of great, interesting studios and stuff within Warner Brothers games. And they've been shafted left and right during this whole Zelnick bullshit with Discovery, Warner Brothers and stuff. And now that they're going to be taken over by a company like Paramount, which is going to assume a lot of debt and all this other stuff, how long before we see Warner Brothers games just getting shafted and closed up or split into pieces and sold off or whatever? Like I said, I am fearful for all that stuff now. I am kind of fearful for what could happen to NetherRealm Studios and the Mortal Kombat franchise and stuff. And, Zelnick and all them, those executives, of course, they only care about money. They don't care about the properties and the studios and stuff. Even though they say that in their letters and their messaging, they don't really care. They're like, oh, they're going to offer us more money and share price and all that other stuff. And that's what Zelnick and them want, is the highest share price they can give for it. So they can pat themselves on the back and go, we did a good job. We did a good Yes, we get the money. We got the money. They're gonna be fine. We got the money. Yes, we're getting the money. But what does that say for Warner Brothers as a company in general? It's sad. It's all sad. It's more sadness. We talk about sadness at Xbox. We talk about sadness at PlayStation and everywhere else. But Warner Brothers games is just being strung along like on a chain. They're like the poor dog that's being yanked by their evil masters that they don't even want them, but they keep them around because they use them for heinous stuff. And all the poor little Warner Brothers games dog wants to do is please the master and make some good content and stuff and do some fun stuff. And the masters don't even give a shit. And nobody else gives a shit because you don't hear about this in the news. And to me, I guess I'm the only one that wants to talk about Warner Brothers games and say, hey, I think this is going to be bullshit. And as you can see, if you're watching the video version of the show, I do have the Warner Brothers games logo upside down because that's where this whole company is going, upside down. And unless if California and some other politicians decide to try to strike down the deal, and then you got the EU, I guess, and stuff, I think they got some still say over it because, you know, Warner Brothers is still multinational, I would guess, even though it's America, but I'm sure elsewhere in the, you know, monopolies and stuff like that. And, you know, I do like a lot of Trump stuff. You know, I do like the guy. I know a lot of you don't like him. He does, but I like him for a lot of stuff, but because he has his little grudges and faults like that on people and ideas and certain businesses and stuff. And then he doesn't like CNN, and then he doesn't like certain people. He will, you know, back a certain company or a certain thing just to get his triumphant revenge. What did I say on those said companies and businesses and stuff? So of course he's gonna throw more power and influence over to the Ellisons because they're a part, I think they're family or something. There's some family members that are part of Trump or whatever it is, the son-in-law or nephew, whatever bullshit. There's something family like, but they got some stuff with the, you know, some sort of friendship or whatever with the president. And then the whole thing is, yeah, it seems kind of ill-mannered bullshit. It's politics that shouldn't be politics, and this is not going to help preserve, you know, the multimedia industry. Not in the gaming industry, of course, not in films. People think this is going to be great for films. No, it's going to make it worse. You thought selling Warner Brothers Discovery to Netflix was going to kill the film industry? You think selling it to Paramount's going to save it? They haven't been making any good films lately. When's the next Star Trek coming out? When's that next Star Trek film? They couldn't even get that off the ground. They were supposed to make the fourth one. That got canceled because they couldn't figure shit out. They couldn't figure out anything else. What happened to all those Transformers movies and the other G.I. Joe and everything else just went down the drain? They have a lot of debt. They have a lot of debt that they got to, you know, now put it in the Warner Brothers stuff, and then they're going to fire hundreds of thousands of people. And then you got jackasses like James Cameron out there going, oh, this is a better thing, better for theaters. Well, how's it going to be better for movie theaters when there's no movies coming out for this show? It's only going to be Disney and stuff from there on out. I don't know what, you know, people are stupid. People are just plain stupid. And like I said, I'm a Cameron fan for his movies, but his politics, he is stupid as shit. And I will call that out. Look at it. You're hearing about AMC filing more, closing more theaters out there now because they can't afford to stay open. You know, they're going back into the bankruptcy pool again. And then you got Regal. I'm sure you're going to hear about them again. People, unfortunately, and this is going for everything in the industry, I don't think films and movie theaters are going to be the future of this world. I think everything's going to be direct to digital and stuff in the future. Now, I don't really care. I got big screen TV. I got popcorn here. I can do it all right here for a lot cheaper because, of course, going in the movies is very expensive. And I don't care what Cameron says. When that Avatar Fire and Ash comes out on Blu-ray, I'll watch the shit out of that at home. I can do that easily. I've already seen it, 2-3 times in the theater, so it doesn't really matter. So, but still, I wouldn't mind if I just got it home, watched it at home either, because, that's me. But I gotta feel sorry for Warner Brothers Games. I hope they do well. And I hope this whole thing falls through. I hope it all falls through. I hope this whole acquisition of Paramount trying to take them over falls flat on its face, gets rejected, falls through, and then it's like, well, there you go. Sorry, Warner Brothers Discovery, you just spent billions more for a breakup fee again. You just wasted more fucking money. You could have stuck with Netflix, but no, you guys got a little extra greedy. And the Netflix deal could have happened, but no, you wanted to go over to the Ellisons over at Paramount, and now you're gonna now you just fucked it all up for yourselves. I hope that's a big blunder there. Not that it's gonna be a good thing, but at least it would teach them a lesson for trying to jump ship and try to jump on deals, because they had a deal with Netflix. It was a solid deal, and Ellison and Paramount were going, no, we want to try again. No, we want to put a couple more dollars on there. No, let us, even though it was a done deal at the start. And, like I said, Paramount is going to just add tons of debt to Warner Brothers, which, did everybody forget that? And they're going to fire a bunch of people? Did they forget about that? At least with Netflix, there would be less people fired. There would be more innovation. But everybody's worried, but they're not going to put the films on in theaters. They're only going to be out for 45 days. I'm sure if Netflix puts out movies in the theaters, these movies going forward into theaters, I'm sure they'll leave them in theaters as long as they know they're making a lot of money. If they're making money, if these films are doing well in theaters, and I'm sure they're not going to just pull the plug after a certain amount of time. I think they're going to want to keep that film in a theater as long as it's making them a lot of money. If it stops making them money, of course they're going to pull the plug on that and bring it and put it on Netflix. Of course they would do that. Anybody would do that. So Sony Playstation. Disney does that. Everybody does that. So wait, because everybody hates the outsider. Everybody hates Netflix, and they shouldn't. They should embrace them a little bit more, because they're actually having innovators and creators come in and make some good shit. Now, like I said, a lot of it is not my shit, but there is some good shit. And there's the very few of the good shit that they try, and they try out a lot of stuff for movies and this and that, I enjoy, when I do subscribe to Netflix once in a great while. So that's my thing on that. So let's be on the hope and lookout, seeing if Warner Brothers Games survives this. My fingers are hopefully crossed for that one. Hopefully that goes right and not wrong, because it could go very wrong for Warner Brothers Games, and I'm hoping it doesn't. And nobody's talking about it. And I'm surprised nobody's talking about it, because I would think a Jeff Gerstmann or a Nextlander people or Giant Bomb or somebody out there would be talking about this whole thing and talking about, what's going to happen with Warner Brothers Games now? What's going on? And nobody says any words of it. Maybe we'll hear something next week or this week after my podcast goes out. Or maybe not. I don't know. And before we get into the games talk new, I forgot. I got some games to talk about that I played in the past week. I forgot about that damn section of the thing. But my Game Through series, I'm going to quickly talk about that. So currently I am putting out each and every Tuesday a new Game Through episode, and I have currently played through or gamed through the Life is Strange Double Exposure game, and each of those episodes is going out every week. So I'm hoping people watch and enjoy that. And the next game that I have picked, and I will say this ahead of time, because even though we're 2 episodes into the Game Through Life is Strange Double Exposure, I think I want to give everybody the bad news of my next game that I'm thinking I'm going to be having to play and put out as the next Game Through game, which I think I might try to record one episode of that this weekend. I don't know yet. I don't know what I'm wanting. I got to still do some stuff, and I'm really hesitant in doing it. But this horrible game that I have to play because there is going to be a sequel coming out of it, and I'm hoping the sequel will be a lot better than this game. And I tried playing a little bit of this game, and then I quit. I rage quit, and I said I deleted it. I'm like, I'm not playing this game. But I got to try to play it, and I got to try to play through it. And that is Halo Infinite. And I am really, really, really not looking forward to playing Halo Infinite. But because this is game through, and I think this is a perfect opportunity and show to play through something like this, gives me a reason to play through this horrible, horrible, horrible game that even I didn't want to play through. I will play through it begrudgingly just to put it out there. So if when or if the next Halo game is supposed to come out, this year or something, even though we heard nothing about it, nada. So I doubt it'll come out this year. But they said it's supposed to come out this year alongside Gears of War, but I heard nothing about it of either of those titles. So, at least with Gears of War, the Gears of War game, we saw some stuff and we got some stuff, but then that went quiet. And Halo, we just heard, no, there's a Halo game coming this year. And I'm like, when the fuck is that coming out? You guys haven't promoted or said anything about it. I am, yeah. Like I said, that Halo Infinite is going to be that next game. And like it or not, I got to play some games that maybe I don't like, but I'll play through them because I know I can. So that's a game that I've been begrudgingly saying I got to play through because I played through all the Halo games so far. I got to continue. I got to do it. I'm not going to like it, but I got to do it. So that will be the next game after Life is Strange Double Exposure, but there's a lot of episodes left, so it's not like we're done yet, folks. There's plenty of Life is Strange Double Exposure to go through with each and every episode, so please watch. They're good videos. It is a fun game. Life is Strange Double Exposure, older game, but really fun. Definitely fun. Same as like the Halo Infinite. That's an older game now too, but Life is Strange is really fun and Double Exposure. And like I said, I cannot wait till Reunion comes because I'll be playing the shit out of that for myself, of course. But yeah. So let's get in quickly. I'm not even going to play the music because we're just going to go through this list. I'm not going to really talk too much about this because it's the same games that I've been playing through. But here are the games that I played through for the past week. More Marvel Cosmic Invasion, going through the story of that. My ROG Ally X, my Xbox ROG Ally X, which is running still quite well, folks. So it's not going into the repair yard, the Asus repair yard, and I haven't been hearing anything more about that. So maybe that was just a very few people crying about that, and maybe it's not anything. So, but I just still had to put it out there for the Asus stuff because I want you guys to know if it's something's happening or not with anything, hardware, software, or anything wise. So, but no, my Asus Xbox ROG Ally X is running just fine. And excuse me, I got some of my mustache going into my nose. That's why I'm rubbing it a lot. Some of the hairs are sticking up in my nose and giving me the itchies. That's the only bad thing about it, having a mustache again, the itchies up my nose. So sorry about that if you're watching this on camera and watching me doing this. So I played Marvel Cosmic Invasion, my Xbox ROG Ally X. Of course, just like you see last Friday, you're going to see this upcoming Friday again, me playing more Final Fantasy VII Rebirth Intergrade, having a fun time with that, even though I had my first super hard boss battles, technically, with the demon house in the arena. That was a boss battle. That was a wake-up call. That was like me going, oh, okay. And it wasn't hard, like hard. It was mostly, oh, this is going to take a lot longer to beat because it's doing shields, it's doing this and that. It's rolling over me and my partner and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, you're playing some stupid bullshit like that again. So I'm trying to grind it down and stuff and doing stuff to try to get at it. And I eventually beat it, the demon house, and got through it. But, it was some touch and go there. It took a lot of health off of me. But I got to use a lot of my potions. I got tons of potions. I got tons of health potions. So I was like, whatever. I got 1 million of these health potions. I can buy more. I'm rich. I'm rich in the game, and I got tons of health potions. So I'm like, whatever. But I'm playing it, loving that game. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth Intergrade. Great story, great game. I got to play more of it on my handheld. I've been neglecting that because I've been playing it every Friday here, but it's not like I have to go continuously from where I left off on the PC playing, but I got to play it sometimes because I like playing in handheld mode. It plays very well in handheld mode as well for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth Intergrade, but it's a great game. Fantastic game. Highly recommend playing it on PC. Assassin's Creed Shadows, I got back into a little bit more with the remote play. I'm back into it, just, expanding my territory some more. Eventually I'll get back into the story and beat more story, but I'm liking to expand my territory and collecting all my resources and stuff, because when I get back into the game and I have to find people and all that, I got most of the regions all unlocked and stuff, or discovered, I should say, and all that, and what should I say? Inspected out. So when I do have to find my targets, I'll be more easily able to do that in the game. So I've been playing that remotely. That's been fun. Playing this other game that just came out, and it came out on Xbox Game Pass. It's called Ball X Pit. And this is one of the games that Asha Sharman, sorry, butchering her name. Sorry, Miss Xbox leadership of Xbox AI. This was on her list of games that she was playing currently, and it said she had 100% completed this game. And I'm like, you 100% completed this game. Now, this game takes a while to beat, or it's taken a while for me to beat anything in this game. It's a pretty tough game. It's basically got a wave of enemies keep coming down a screen, and you're down there shooting balls up there like playing Snood. You ever played Snood back in the day? Oh, it's a great game. It's like one of those games where you shoot it. It's like a backwards kind of Tetris kind of thing, and you shoot it. You got to kind of try to break the blocks a bit and keep knocking back the enemies and stuff and killing them and destroying them. That's what it is, and it's been a challenge, and I've been upgrading my characters and stuff. I've been getting through it, but it's going to be a long game. This is one of those games where it just keeps going and going and going and going. And it's on her list. It's like 100% complete. I'm like, how did you fucking manage to get 100% complete on this game in no time at all? That's what I question about Asha Sharman's gaming profile there, because this game is not one of those games that you can beat really fast. And she's got 100% achievement completion on this game. I question that. But okay. Maybe she's a better player than I am. I can understand that. I can fully understand that. I'll give her a shadow of a doubt, but it's questioning. It's questioning. Because for me, Ball X Pit, it's a fun-ass game, but it's a hard-ass game. I'm going to be playing that game also on a Let's Play or something as well. I'm going to record a Let's Play of X Ball Pit on my PC because it is a game that is very interesting. And it's up my alley too, because I like these types of games. But I've been playing this on my Xbox Rogue Ally X, and it's been running and playing very well. It's a very fun game, and definitely a game that I will keep going back to play. And the final game, of course, PowerWash Simulator, people. Power washing that barns and stuff. Ooh, gotta clean up everything. And that's what I do in PowerWash Simulator on the Xbox Rogue Ally X. And those are, folks, the games that I, Mr. Mike, have played in the past week. Now, note, I went through that quite quickly because there was nothing really new or anything else that I've been playing. And, folks, I want to get through the rest of this podcast. We're already getting on the 2 hours already again. And we got some gaming news to talk about. So, why don't we get into the games news that is the games news of this show, folks, so we can get the show over with, or at least for me, because I want to go work out for a bit after this and then shower up and then order some good grubbing. So, Gamez Newz it is now.
Locked and loaded, ready for the fight. Game talk news, gonna set the stage alight. Mr. Mike's got the scoop, he ain't holding back. Dropping bombs on the gaming industry track. Hear the thunder, feel the roar. Game talk news, gonna settle the score. From E3 to PAX, they got it all. The highs and lows, ready to brawl.
There we go. End it right there. So, in the biggest thing here on the Gamez Newz that I think is a really big story, and this is I'm guessing this is gonna be a make or break for Nintendo right here, and or other people. I don't know. This is gonna be their way of, oh, we're really going full steam ahead on Switch 2 here, and forget this Nintendo Switch. Pokemon Winds and Waves has been announced. I have not looked too much into this because like I said, I don't got a Switch 2. And you're probably like, what? What do you mean? You got a Switch, right? Well, the story gets better than this. Yeah, Pokemon Winds and Waves is coming out. It's the next Pokemon game. I guess they said it's like more open world-ish and stuff like that. It's another Pokemon game. You know, it's one of those. It's going to be unplayable for millions of you at launch if you only have a Nintendo Switch 1. If you don't have the Switch 2, you're out of luck. That's right, folks. You will not be able to play one of Nintendo's biggest games out there, or supposedly biggest games, Pokemon. The next Pokemon game, Winds and Waves, because they're only putting it out on the Nintendo Switch 2. So, there's a Pokemon 30th anniversary celebrations going to be happening for Pokemon. Let's see here. So, I guess when the Pokemon company Game Freak announced these next games into the Pokemon series, Wind and Waves, delivering several expected reveals as well as some more surprising revelations along the way. The headline news was undoubtedly confirmation of the long-rumored Pokemon Winds and Waves, which, for me, I wasn't paying attention too much. I do like Pokemon and the Pokemon games. Don't get me wrong. I have a plush Pikachu out there, Marshmallow Pikachu, so I do like my Pokemons. I do like playing the games on occasion. Giving fans their first look at Generation X of this Pokemon, as well as the game's huge open world and some very adorable new starters, which they do look very cute, these starters. I do like these new starter Pokemon, and plus there's a huge open world, which awesome for a Pokemon game. Here we go, though. One slight caveat to all this excitement around the release is the fact that it won't be in players' hands this year. With a more vague release window as far as the developer was willing to go at this juncture, the other major setback is one that could affect a lot more Nintendo fans than you would think, and there isn't really a way around it other than to spend a bunch more money. Meaning, as confirmed in an official Nintendo announcement, Pokemon Winds and Waves will only be available for the Nintendo Switch 2. With the first generation of the hardware sadly left out in the cold this time around, which obviously makes sense because they had some very big performance issues of the first game. And I'm looking at some video play or their trailer and video play of Pokemon Winds and Waves, and it looks pretty good. Looks interesting. And like I said, the Switch 1, they definitely had, of course, some hardware. They would have to get over that hurdle of the hardware. If they're going to do such a big open world and all that other stuff, they would have to it would have not been like that, I would guess. So I can understand. So the first system is aging, but this will in fact rule out a ton of Nintendo fans, unless if all those Nintendo fans decide to buy a Switch 2, which of course Nintendo would love for more people to buy Switch 2s. bumping up their Switch 2 sales. As of the final month of 2025, the Nintendo Switch 2 had sold a very impressive 17.35 million units. Yep. Oh, I'm looking at this trailer here. It's showing a nice, good-looking Pikachu here. Some nice open world looking going here. Oh, yes, that looks nice. Oh, what's that? Pikachu. Oh, what are those? Oh, other Pikachu. They're dressed up funny. Pikachu has sunglasses. Oh, Pikachu's so cute. They got a female Pikachu and a male Pikachu, or are they bi Pikachu? I think they're bi Pikachu. Yeah, it looks good. It looks good. So 84% of those upgrading from the first generation console for around 14.5 million users. Given that the original Switch sold a staggering 146 million units, those 14.5 million only represent a small proportion of the overall Nintendo player base, and I'm sure Nintendo would definitely love the rest of the 100+ million people to purchase a Switch 2. Of course. With the sad reality locked in, fans on Reddit weren't super delighted at the news that they would either have to upgrade or miss out on the experience altogether. Well, you can't blame them for if they're going to if this game is going to utilize all that new hardware and it's going to look like I'm looking at it right here in this trailer. Yeah, they're going to need, because I'm looking at this trailer, I'm looking at this world, I'm looking at all these places. Yeah, you're going to need that you're going to need that hardware bump upgrade. You're going to definitely need this upgrade bump for this stuff because they're doing a lot here. There's a lot going on. They're actually doing some shit with this. It does look decent. It does look like something that would sell me a Switch 2. But note, and I'm looking at these new starter characters, and they do look cute. Especially the fire dog. He looks cute. You got the birdie. His name is Brout. Pomban is the fiery dog, and Jaquia is the water type. Jaquia? I can't even say it. Can't say their names. But it looks good, this game. I gotta say, maybe Game Freak actually learned from their past mistakes, and they're like, okay, we got this new hardware. We can go full board now. We can make these look really good and make Pokemon fans happy again. I don't know. Will you be buying a new... okay. Thank God it's releasing in 2027. Okay, that's what it's saying. I wish I didn't have one to upgrade still. Thank God it's releasing in 2027. I sadly won't be able to play since the Switch 2 just is not in my budget. And besides, I'd rather get something more like a PlayStation 5. Oh my God. Why? You can't play? You're going to be playing Xbox games on that. Why? It just has more games that I'd like to play. Okay, understandably. It's understandable because, like I said, the Nintendo Switch does not have that many games as of yet to purchase one. Like I said, if I'm going to purchase a Nintendo Switch 2, I want it to be a Nintendo Switch 2 Lite or an OLED version of Nintendo Switch 2. And then Nintendo, you got me locked in because then I can bump up all my stuff and play all my stuff on one of those. And 2, because hardware is very expensive right now, I'm sure we're not going to get any of that anytime soon. So when I decide to play one of these new Pokemon games, they're going to be older Pokemon games, but that's going to be okay because I'm going to be new and I only play by myself anyways. I don't play with friends or anybody. So Pokemon Winds and Waves, if I decide to get it, I will get it way later. And that's just going to be how it is going forward. Because there's not that many games that I would want on Switch 2 yet. There's a couple, but I want to see more of what they got cooking in Nintendo. I want a new Mario game. I want to see some good new stuff. Like I said, I got Donkey Kong Bonanza. That's definitely a game that I definitely would love to play. I will play this Pokemon Winds and Waves game if I have to. That's okay to me as well. No Mario Kart this time because I think that Mario Kart game is whack and overpriced, so I'm not going to give in into that bullshit. What else did they have? There was other stuff, but like I said, very few things. Very few things that I would do. Like I said, it would be a better backwards compatibility, a compatible system for me to play those types of games on, because then I could play all my older stuff on the newer hardware and stuff like that. But still, it's not yet. Not yet. Like I said, I can wait. I can definitely wait. Now, could a lot of Pokemon freaks and fans out there wait? I'm thinking a lot of them are going to give onto that. Unless if I get it like a Switch 2 handed to me or something. If somebody just bought me a Switch 2, then I'd be like, okay, I guess I got to get it anyways. Get the games. But I will wait. I will wait. This is more for us handheld gamers out there. Reality does strike, and I admit it. PCs come and go. Support for the hardware comes and goes, and that's the same for if you get a gaming piece, a big gaming PC, or if you get a handheld like a Lenovo Legion Go or an Asus handheld. And apparently, Lenovo and Asus handheld owners are warned as Ryzen Z1 Extreme driver support is reportedly ending now from AMD. They're not going to be supporting their Ryzen 1 chips because they got the Ryzen Z2 chips and stuff now. So there's going to be a lack of official updates that they state here that threatens the longevity of the Legion Go, the Go S, and the ROG Ally originals up to the ROG Ally X, because that was a Z1 as well. Devices on Windows 11. Now note, it's not all doom and gloom there, because Lenovo and Asus could still support those devices. Now note, this is just AMD so far stating this. There has not been any anything said yet, but let's read on here before I get too much onto this. So a series of reports, both online and from hardware manufacturers, suggest AMD has dropped support for one of their major handheld APUs after just 2.5 years. I thought it was more than that. I thought it was at least 4 years. I don't know. It seemed a little while. While the company itself hasn't directly addressed this issue so far, it appears that new driver support for devices running with the AMD Ryzen Z1 Extreme has ended. It's confirmed it would mean that several high-end handheld gaming PCs from recent years running Windows 11, including top-level Asus ROG Ally and Asus ROG Ally X, so those are the original ones using the Z1 chip, not the Z2, as well as the Lenovo Legion Go, Go S, will no longer receive new drivers and haven't for several months. The Lenovo's case, comments reportedly made by Korean community representatives online suggest that there are no more plans to issue new drivers for the original Legion Go either. As this has driven discussion online, including on Reddit, about the state of affairs, and going on forward like, oh, so if we're buying these handheld handheld gaming PCs, and they're not going to support them for that much time, because there could be a Z3 chip down the road or something. What's that mean for people? That means new games we can't play because we'll be screwed out of luck or whatever. As a PC gamer, as a person that has been PC gaming for a very long time now, and I use NVIDIA and AMD stuff all the time. That's part of being a PC gamer. Sometimes you just don't get graphics drivers all the time for all your games and such. And sometimes things don't work. And sometimes you got to do other things to get the games to work. Sometimes there's third-party people that are willing to make drivers for such games, or game makers that will tweak their games or make drivers for their games to work on those handhelds if they feel that deemed necessary to do so. Now, these are still PCs. These are still going to be able to play most of the games that are out there for up to a reason and stuff. The Z1 chip is an older chip. I know it's only been 3 or 4. They say 3.5. I thought it was like 4 years. It is old in the tooth. It was their first chip to try to work in handhelds. The Z2 Extreme chips are amazing, I gotta say, from a ROG Ally X and stuff. And I'm wondering what they'll do for a Z3 or whatever in the future. But I think that's going to be the way things go with these handheld gaming computers. And like I said, I wouldn't worry about that stuff. I know you're probably like, but I want to play the latest and greatest games. You will still be able to play most of your games going forward on these machines with the new latest and greatest games. It's just not going to be all the games out there. Like they got stuff like this news story here, like the massive difference between how well Resident Evil Requiem runs on a Steam Deck and a ROG Ally, Asus ROG Ally, just adds more fuel to the fire. That AMD has abandoned driver support for its Ryzen Z1 chips. So apparently, let's see here. And then they got a recent update on this article. Okay. So it's still, okay. So they did update, I guess, a GPU driver for the ROG Ally and ROG Ally X of this article, but still, Resident Evil Requiem still runs poorly on the original hardware, which I can expect because first off, you don't got the RAM. You only got 16 gigs of RAM in those original things. I think the ROG Ally X original had 24 gigs in that. So it maybe could be a little bit better in performance. You would just have to twiddle with the performance on that, but still, for a game like that, you probably need something like a Z2 Extreme chip with more RAM in it and stuff like that. So it does make sense on that thing. And you're not probably going to be able to play all the games because remember, these are handhelds, computers. They run a lot of great stuff. They can run most of the games and they're going to still run most of the games in the future. Why Resident Evil Requiem runs better on the Steam Deck than a ROG Ally or something like that is kind of interesting to me. Maybe it's just the way how it is. And sometimes games were like that. I had a few games back on my Z1 ROG Ally that Extreme that didn't run right away. And then when they did offer a patch, it ran better performance. So driver support is a thing. But still, I think third parties could still make drivers and stuff, third-party drivers for this stuff. And I wouldn't worry too much. If there's enough support for this stuff, enough support behind these games and whatnot, or if people are wanting to play this game more on something like a ROG Ally handheld or something, and the game technically can support it with the chipset it has, the memory and all that, technically, I'm sure somebody would make some sort of a driver for that stuff. But remember, these are PCs. These are not pure gaming consoles or whatever. These are PCs. And of course, in anything PC, desktop or what, sometimes you're going to need those drivers to run a game better or not. And sometimes these games are more optimized for stuff like that. And sometimes these games, like a Resident Evil Requiem, needs more power, more memory bandwidth to run that said game. It's just how it is. You know, I understood from the moment I got my first ROG Ally Extreme with the Z1 chip that I would probably have to sunset it sooner than later in its lifetime, because I knew down the road, 3 years or so down the road, which, like I said, I got my new one now, so I'm thinking it was like 3 years, but they're saying not. I don't know. I'm thinking it's been 3 years already, at least 3 or 4. It seems like 3 or 4. I had that Z1 ROG Ally for a while now. And before I went to the ROG Ally, Xbox ROG Ally X with the Z2 Extreme chip. But yeah, I understood fully that, oh yes, I'm going to have to buy a new device. And it would have to be a device that was a lot more powerful, had a lot more memory, a lot more stuff that I wanted in it. And this did. So they did a nice jump up into the hardware specs that I wanted. And I said, sure, I will spend $1,000 on this thing because I'm crazy enough to, because I knew for a fact that this had what I wanted in it and the power and stuff. And that's going to be the same thing. If they go and, AMD creates an impressive Z3 chip down the road or whatever, or somebody else creates, or they go to Snapdragon and they put a Snapdragon something in there and it runs Windows perfectly fine and all the games are perfectly fine and they can have something more powerful and it has 24 to 32 gigs of RAM or more in there. And it comes out in 3-4 years time. Not that I doubt it ever will in this time frame, but I'm sure we're going to be waiting a little bit longer down the road for a new version of one of these that's going to be worth it. It's going to be a little hard to sell these ROG Allys, as you already know, and Steam Decks and all that in the portable market going forward for a few years. But, maybe a little bit longer wait. We'll get more money, bang out of our buck out of these, but the next gen one, if that thing is really more powerful and it's got all the memory, it's got all my, bells and whistles in it and stuff that I like, and it's a significant jump up from this, I'm going to buy it. It's going to be expensive as shit, but I'm going to buy it because I knew that this is something I love and it's a hobby that's you got to have some money for, unfortunately, especially now, folks. But I'm willing to take that hit because it would be a significant enough jump and bump up from my previous ROG Ally or Xbox ROG Ally X if I go up to a Z3 or something with more memory, bandwidth, stuff like that. I would do it. But we'll have to wait and see going forward because, like I said, with memory shortages and storage shortages and people not able to make new ROG Allys fast enough or Steam Decks fast enough and stuff like that, I don't see new stuff coming out that soon. I think they're going to focus on what they can get out with this stuff, and then longer down the road, then yes, they'll come out with some stuff. So it might not be a problem this time around because of all the bullshit going on in hardware. And like everybody says, like Jeff Gerstmann and everybody says, you're in a world where gamers and people can't afford anything nowadays. So don't worry about it because you won't be able to afford anything anyways. Gaming or hardware-wise, nobody's going to be able to afford anything. So do not worry because nobody's going to be able to afford any of these new consoles, handhelds, etc., games. If there's going to be games being made, nobody's going to afford anything. So do not worry about that. It's a bummer, yes, but that's what we got to say. Let's see here. Valve admits Steam Deck is experiencing delays and stock issues due to the AI-driven memory shortages. They talked about this many times before. Memory is in high demand because companies like NVIDIA and Google require so much for their AI chips going forward, and prices of RAM have skyrocketed, and we all know this. Steam Deck OLED might be out of stock intermittently in some regions due to memory and storage shortages. The company has now added to its Steam Deck store page. The Steam Deck LCD 256 gigabyte is no longer in production because that would be too expensive for them to make. And the Steam Machine, who knows when that's coming out? It's the console-like PC that's supposed to come out. And, so Valve admits that this is a bad situation for them and everybody in the PC gaming hardware world. So, with the shortages. Tencent shuts down studio backing Assassin's Creed Black Flag and Valhalla creative director. I guess that was the guy that made that. The 5-year-old developer didn't even release a game. Oh, that's sad. So Tencent has shut down Teamy Montreal, the studio employing former Assassin's Creed creative director Ashraf Ismail. Ismail joined the studio after his high-profile exit from Ubisoft following an internal investigation of misconduct in 2020. Oh, so it was a dude that was not really decent. So I'm guessing this is a happier story then, even though the studio's being shut down. Previously, he served as creative director of Assassin's Creed most recent blockbusters made out of its Montreal hub, including Black Flag, Origins, and Valhalla. The 5-year-old Teamy Montreal, which is part of the bigger multinational Teamy studio group, has not released any games in that time, but has been planning to create a AAA open world multi-platform game. The wider Timmy group publishes a number of mobile games, including Call of Duty Mobile, not to be confused with the Call of Duty Warzone Mobile, which shuts down in April, as well as the shooter Delta Force. GameFile states sources had warned that a shutdown was imminent, but the news was confirmed when a senior gameplay programmer wrote in a now deleted privated LinkedIn message that through the team had been aware this was coming for some time. It doesn't make it the reality any easier. I'm looking at this Ashmaf Ismail guy. He does look like, I remember him. I remember his picture. I guess, guess he was doing some bad at Ubisoft for misconduct and stuff. So, I guess he gets what he gets when stuff. I don't know. I feel sorry for the rest of the group. So I guess the studio's gone. Just like Blueprint Games is gone from Sony. Bluepoint, sorry. More game studios being shut down by people, and Tencent's a big Chinese company, so yeah. You know who should be, I'm not saying shut down, but you know who's going to be hurting in future times going forward? That's going to be Discord. Their reputation's going to be really in the mud for a while, and even worse. But they're like, oh, so Discord decides to delay its age verification plans after user outcry. So Discord is pushing back plans to start verifying the age of all users in March after weeks of user ire. So Stanislav Vishnevsky, Discord's co-founder and chief technology officer, stated a planned global rollout of the verification process to determine users under the age of 16 would be delayed until a later half of this year, which that's not going to make it any better. Discord stressed it would meet any specific legal obligations it has for age verification of its users, and that the age verification will be part of the platform in the future. However, the platform stated it was now developing more verification options for users that would not require facial or ID scans. One such option in development is credit card verification. There you go, because most people, and I said this before in this article, most kids don't have credit cards. Adults do. Most kids don't. Now, I know they do have kid credit cards or those prepaid credit cards, but I'm sure you don't have to accept those. You can accept a full-fledged Visa or MasterCard. Yes, there you go. We knew this rollout was going to be controversial, blah, 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 and you know how they say that. I get the skepticism. Okay, whatever. Less than 10% of users are expected to need to verify their age, but still, it's the whole point. It's these governments and states and countries that are all just locking down. Oh, it's for the kids. Is it really for the kids, or is it just you guys all wanting to have more control and more connection? You guys want to spy more on everybody. You want to know more. They want more of our personal data. They want to be in more of our stuff in our lives and control what people do. That's what it's really about. It's not just because it's for the kids. Now, sure, kids should not be doing stuff like this on adult sites, and the parents should be parenting, but still overall, it is bad that we're coming to this point where everybody's like, we need your facial ID and your ID and this and your birth certificate and all this other bullshit that we hand off to third parties that do not protect your data, that give away your data, and all this other bullshit that they say they don't do. And then it all becomes back in our face because we're stupid and we think we can get one over on the gamers and people like that. Gamers are smarter than you think. A lot smarter than you think. They're dumb, but they're a lot smarter than you think, and they get really ruthless when people try to pull a rug over them. And Yeah, I agree with that. I agree. Do not fuck with people like that. And for Discord, when everybody was using it for social media and beyond, and business wise, like I know a lot of places, Patreons and stuff, they use it for their Patreons and stuff. They don't want people to verify through them, their ages and stuff. And it's getting more, government overreach on all this stuff. And a lot of people are letting these politicians get away with murder. I would shoot down any politician that thinks, oh, government ID, this and that is good. Now, for voting, stuff like that, buying cigarettes, alcohol, doing stuff like that, sure. For stuff like this, it shouldn't be a problem. Because kids shouldn't be on this stuff anyways. And adults should parent better, and parents should be parenting. Enough said. And I know people are going to come out and say, but parents don't all understand the internet and this and that and that and this. Well, I would think parents of this generation now with young kids, I'm 40 now. I grew up with technology and all that. People that are parents now should have grown up with technology. It's not their parents' parents. It's not our parents having more kids. It's us having kids now. We should be more tech savvy nowadays. And if we're not, then how are you part of society if you're not tech savvy? I don't get that. That doesn't make sense. And it shouldn't, because you shouldn't be a part of society if you can't understand technology and how to use it and how to keep your kids protected in it. It's just the way it is. You should evolve to learn this stuff, because you should have grown up with the stuff. I know I grew up with it, and I grew up in a very poor family, and I still grew up with it, and I still got to learn it and learned it well. So there's no excuse if you're poor or not. Because if I was a poor son of a bitch when I was a young kid, and I still got my hands and went on the internet, did all this stuff from dial-up to now, if I could do it, I'm sure a lot of other people could have did it as well. I'm just saying, as one example here. People got to start learning technology better, and parents have to parent their kids to make them better future adults and future citizens of the world that are better, not worse. I know it's going to the worst section right now, but they should be going to the better section. Just saying. So if we're hearing rumors and all these rumors about Grand Theft Auto 6 and all that stuff, or any new information for Grand Theft Auto 6, don't be too quiet. Don't think that's true, folks, because Rockstar has reportedly been spreading false GTA 6 information to catch inside leakers or outside leakers, people that are privy to the GTA 6 game and stuff, such inside and out. And they've been spreading some misinformation within and out to try to catch people. And because, Rockstar, they're very paranoid company. They've been paranoid for a very long time, and understandably. And they did some very heinous things over the years and stuff, and recently about, these people that they fired and stuff from apparently stealing information and stuff like that. And yeah, they just don't want their game being, released. So they are spreading this false information, so people will, go, oh, I'm going to tell this guy or my friend or my source and stuff. And then they know, oh, see, we told you in confidence about this. You were the only one we told, and you were the one that told this person because it couldn't got out any other way. And that's how they're catching people, which is a smart move, smart internal company move, and more companies should have did this and do this. And, if you've got a company that's got leaks and stuff like that, and I'm sure a lot of companies do. And, yeah, I have no ill will towards that and what Rockstar is doing with that. They want people to be happy with their game, so much so they really don't want leakers. And leaking is very hard and is a very hard thing to almost impossible to stop in today's techno world. But it can be done if you do it right. And the final game news story of this podcast show, folks, Marvel. Let's talk some Marvel Wolverine, an actual PlayStation game. So Marvel's Wolverine carves out a release date and everybody is saying, oh, finally at last. So in a surprise announcement, Insomniac Games has revealed that the release date for Marvel's Wolverine is coming on September 15th, 2026. So isn't GTA 6 coming out in November, right? Right? When's GTA 6 coming out? I gotta go Google search this. GTA 6 really I can't spell release date. Dumbing out. November 19th. So in November. So okay, so they're coming out in September for Wolverine. So you got September. So the 15th of September. So you got from the 15th of September to October to November. So you got like somewhat months. You got 2-ish months because it's coming out. Supposedly, GTA 6 is coming out November 19th this year. So you got basically 2 months to play and play Marvel's Wolverine game by Insomniac Games. Still seen very little of this game. No, very little. If it's anything like the original Wolverine game, that was really good back in the day, or better, I'm interested to see what this game is going to be like and how it looks, how it plays, how the story is. And this is going to be an actual game that Sony's coming out with. Like one of very, very, very few games that Sony first party is coming out with. So it makes you wonder. Okay, Sony, where are all the other games and such? So like I said, Sony isn't coming out with too many games. People still want to buy PlayStation 5s. Is a game like Wolverine gonna get people to buy that said game in 2026? You know? Is it gonna get people to buy people gonna buy PlayStation 5s just to play the new Wolverine game? Or Wolverine and then GTA 6? Is 2 games enough? Now, GTA 6 is probably going to be a super massive game, as I keep hearing the said rumors about. Now, no rumors. But it still seems like it's going to be a big game. I don't know. And I know Wolverine ain't coming out to PC or Xbox, at least that we know of. Now, Sony proper has not said anything about not putting like this game out on PC or anything. Now, if they would release Wolverine, this Wolverine game, day and date as the console version to PC or something, to Steam or whatever, I wonder if that game would sell even more on PC, because people would want to be like, oh, this is coming out PC day and date? Okay, we'll play it on PC. Just saying. But it gets you thinking. But September 15th, gonna be a lot of happy Wolverine Marvel fans out there playing a cool Wolverine game. I probably won't be among you, but I'll be watching and rooting for you. And that's all we say. That's all we're saying, folks, because this podcast is now over. Because this podcast is already going into the 2:30, almost getting into the 3-hour mark again. Like I said, a lot of stuff, a lot of news, a lot of stuff to talk about we had here. But it was fun, and I had fun. I had a lot of fun talking to you guys. A lot of fun with this podcast. And coming up this week, before we end this podcast, like I said, got this podcast today as you're watching or listening to this on OldFreakyGamer.com or YouTube.com/OldFreakyGamer-2023 or any major podcast app out there that you can download podcasts from. I'm sure my GamezAttack podcast is on there. Tuesday, of course, is going to be the episode 3 of Game Through with Life is Strange Double Exposure. So get ready for that, folks. Wednesday is going to be a new Let's Play. So we're going to have a Let's Play on Wednesday. And then Friday will be another Game On episode or Game On Live episode of more Final Fantasy. Or should I say Final Fantasy Friday? I think I'm going to call this next one Final Fantasy Friday. You know. And then I'll add a clever little title to that or something. You know. because it's basically Final Fantasy Friday on Game On Live. That's what we're doing. Playing more Final Fantasy 7 Intergrade, remake Intergrade. It's a fun game. I love streaming it. I got people watching it. It looks great. It plays great. Of course, I'm going to continue to stream it. Like I said, until another game comes out that I want to stream on that day, I think Final Fantasy is going to be it for a long time. If you like it or not, that's what I do. It's simple as that. I'm only one guy. I want to play through these games. I want to have fun with my games. And that's what's going on. And you know what else is going on? Me ending this podcast finally. So thank you all for watching, listening, all sorts of stuff. Like I said, go to my website, OldFreakyGamer.com, for the scheduling, for the podcast, the videos, all sorts of great stuff. It's a website that I do. Why do I pay to do it? I don't know, because I don't make no money from anything. But you can tip me with Mr. Mike's Tip Jar. I also accept tips on Mr. Mike's Tip Jar, which you could go to OldFreakyGamer.com to go to Mr. Mike's Tip Jar, or you could go to the links part of my YouTube page at OldFreakyGamer on YouTube. On my YouTube channel, there's a link to my Mr. Mike's Tip Jar where you can go click on it. It takes you to a Square account, my Square page for donations and stuff, because I got a Square account. And if you want to tip me a little something, type in the credit card numbers, put a little number in there, say, hit go. You want your receipt? You want a receipt? Just type in your email address. It gives you a receipt. There you go. You helped a brother out, and that's the best thing we can do. So until next time, folks, thank you for watching, listening, all that stuff. Anything else you want to know, you can contact me. I got my contact information here, up here, and on the website. And you can just email. Also, I got email as well, oldfreakygamer@gmail.com. That is oldfreakygamer@gmail.com. I don't put it up here, but I do use that if you want to send me a message or something, or a question, or whatever. I accept all that. Or you can comment on the video below, which is a lot easier. So until next time, folks, I am Mr. Mike signing out saying game on, game hard, world conquest. I'm pushing this gaming button. And the show is now game over. So till next time, folks, Mr. Mike saying peace. I couldn't even do a peace sign. Till next time.
Pixels flicker neon bright. Old freaky gamer plays all night. Joystick in one hand, fries in the other. He's the king of one more level, brother. Press start, he's in the zone. His throne's a squeaky chair alone. Old freaky gamer, he's got the knack. Blasting through the game's attack. Level up and don't look back. Old freaky gamer on the track. 8-bit dreams and a 16-bit past. His reflex is slow, but his will is fast. Button dashing like a man possessed. High score chasing, he's obsessed.
Game over.